Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Aurora. This class is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. Today is October 15th, 2025, and this is Level 1, Lesson 11. Today, let me just make sure that I read the title of my lesson correctly, is about energetic anatomy and the sun. So you're like, wait, this is kind of similar, but not exactly the same as last week, which is about the sun's senses and the human endocannabinoid system. And I have definitely intentionally created the curriculum of level 1 and level 2 to complement each other. So when I have it synchronized correctly week by week, they should complement each other. I'm sorry if I use the same words, but they should help to make both of these things more than either one on their own. But I also recognize that it might sometimes be confusing because I will be referring to concepts like last week as if I've already introduced them and then introduced those concepts today. So thank you for allowing my rather unorthodox structuring of how I integrate these two things. And let's get into it. This is about, oh, and I have questions too that a lovely student participant sent ahead of time to make sure, sorry, if I'm, let me pause for a moment. Thank you for giving me that opportunity to be able to pull up the questions that the lovely student sent by email so that way I can answer them. These are questions about the sun and about the ongoing conversation around the sun right now. Before we dive into today's topic and all this beautiful ideas that I have prepared for you on my curriculum, I would like to share with you exciting things because I'm sure you guys can see that I've got my jacket going on here. So you might have been able to see over the past several weeks that I have my little dress form over here, and I've been working on this wonderful, both working with garments that I have created. I'm not sewing them. I have someone who is sewing them for me. Either a seamstress making something new or upcycling. This is an example of something that I'm upcycling. So it is a pre-existing cotton jacket that I bought at an online thrift shop. And then I've added all these wonderful things of my own artwork to it. You want me to give you a view of the back? Because I know you want to see the back. Hold on, let me just step off of my treadmill effectively so you can kind of see. There we go. So you can there you go. You can kind of see. And that's from this painting over here that it might be a little bit hard to see, but the painting that is called Many Worlds. So thank you for allowing me to celebrate one of my first finished pieces because I have been doing a lot of prototypes and things like that. So I did make this with the intention of sharing it with the world, like offering it for sale. It's a ladies size 10. So it's actually a little bit larger than me, but it is a perfect size for someone that has a torso that is a little bit larger than me. And I actually have several other sizes and colors of the same jacket. And I'm just about to put this up on my website. I don't have my shop activated yet, but I literally just finished this yesterday. So I wanted to wear it for class and kind of share and celebrate with you. So of course, if you're interested, just contact me with any interest. It is for sale, but it's all unofficial yet. And Chris, thank you for being here. It says, Aurora, it looks awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for celebrating. So yeah, it's definitely a fun, cool fashion project that I'm working on. And I am enjoying aspects of the design, like the artist designer in me. I'm enjoying how I figure out how to fit my drawings and paintings and geometric shapes onto something that exists and that goes onto the human body. It's just a different way of using my brain than I usually painting on a flat surface, and is very fun and gratifying. So thank you for allowing me that small moment of self-promotion. Now we dive into our curriculum. And also, I want you to know, so I had my wonderful drink over here. I'll drink my drink so carefully so that, of course, I don't get anything on my beautiful white garment over here. Now I have to do this whole thing again of going and getting my notes correct. It's so annoying because I had to do a whole thing while I paused in order to be able to get the questions. Now I have a whole thing to do to be able to get my notes again. Like, if you want to know how much I hate technology very, very profound, if you want to know the truth. Okay. So let's just do a little mental sorbet because my energy got all wiped away because I had to touch technology. I will just rant for a moment, actually. I will tell you that every single time I have to touch to interact with technology, it makes my energy less lasagna. Every time I have to touch this stupid mouse pad, every time I have to touch a touchpad, every time I have to do a thing. So I try to touch it as little as possible. And it intentionally is naughty, so I have to touch it more. It's like, no, I know you prepared your screen and your curriculum perfectly, but now you have to touch it 10 times to be able to get back to this screen. So disgusting. And you can tell how my energy completely changed and shifted from hooray, class to technology is ugly, gross, and disgusting. Ugh. Here, want to hear a little anecdote? Wait, I'm not even ready for class yet. Let me rant. So I have a beautiful neighbor friend, and I go over there usually on Wednesdays before class. And she's in her late 70s and she's a cancer survivor and has many health problems. And I help her with her CBD garden. Okay. So I overhear her on the phone talking with customer service because she has password problems and she does not like understand computers and she has different caregivers that help her with her computers. So she's on with Apple support, talking with them about her password problems. And she said to them literally that this stuff with technology is so draining to her. She's a cancer survivor and she is thinking that it's better for her to just pass away. She's like, oh, I think I should just die and pass away and then I don't have to deal with this stupid password recovery. That is how bad technology is. All right. Just you need to know that is how anti-life and life draining technology effing is. It makes people want to die instead of having to be here and do their stupid password recovery. It literally saps people of their will to live. Okay. My goodness. Okay, thank you. I should have told you to prepare for an incoming rant. So now let's talk about something more positive. And I think I have to admit someone to the meeting. Okay, good. They just admitted themselves. Questions from lovely student participant is, first of all, relevant to everything we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about the sun, solar consciousness, and how your solar consciousness is connected directly to your body's cellular consciousness, and how all of this is connected to the galactic center, and how all of this is connected to larger, more expansive levels of consciousness. But the first thing that she asked about was even the imagery, the things that we see on satellites. She says, there are the videos and pictures of the sun that show sunspots and CMEs. Is this the real sun? Are these true animations of the sun? Can we read into them? And then a question about the 3-1 Atlas object. So yeah, I will tell you that you have to be supremely skeptical of everything in your world right now that you're not perceiving with your own either insight and higher senses or with your five senses. There is so much fabrication and so much agenda-driven fabrication that I think that we have to be very, very discerning in what we ingest. So fabrication can be considered the sense that, like anything that human science is using to be able to perceive the sky or our Earth or the sun, is going to be an approximation, not an exact, direct truth. So not something that is empirical, but something that is analogous to truth. And that's because it's very difficult to actually get a picture of the sun. Like, it's such a dynamic and highly energetic object. It melts cameras and things like that. So you have to be skeptical about all of the different ways that technology is deployed to artificially look at the sun. When you look at the sun, you should use your tendril of attention. Where's my little pen? Reach out with your tendril of attention and touch on the sun. And it will actually tell you much, much more than anything that is the human-created satellite. So the human-created satellite, you could say innocently, might have been created by scientists and academics and weather observers to be able to try to know more about the sun. But you also have to comprehend that all of that information is, at this point in the spiritual warfare and the information warfare going on in your world, heavily censored and heavily biased in that censorship. So I'm not even just talking about something that would erase out or edit out some kind of UFOs or something that would just blow people's minds and make them go bananas, but other things that are inconvenient to the ongoing agenda. Like one example is, and I hope that this censored platform and captured platform won't have a problem with me saying this, but you know how there's an ongoing narrative that is basically saying like there's too many greenhouse gases, cows are farting too much, our planet is too hot, and humans are to blame, and therefore we must create extra taxes on your use of natural gas and other combustible items here, like you know what I'm talking about. And I had to kind of allude to it so that that way, we wouldn't face any problems because definitely there is a regime-driven agenda to support that narrative. And so a lot of these satellite observations and other forms of gathering statistical data about both Earth's atmosphere and Earth's weather patterns. So this is clouds, satellite imagery that either looks at the behavior of clouds or the patterning of clouds or the larger weather patterns. We are not receiving the true information because the true unvarnished information would have to include overt acknowledgement of the chemtrails. And I hope that everyone knows that I'm just here talking to you fictionally. I'm talking to you about a fictional story that happened in an elvish land with Frodo and Sam, and there were chemtrails in the sky. Okay, good. But any real satellite-based weather reportage would easily find these sky grids to be bizarre and would have to acknowledge them and talk about them. And instead, the imagery is heavily censored, and also many storms are engineered. So it would not be, so anybody remember how I was doing last week, my little comedy skit where I'm like, gather round, children, I'm grandmother Aurora. This is my grandmother's voice. Grandmother Aurora, I'm a simple woman. Here's my rocking chair, and come around me and I will tell you stories of weed. But also I will tell you stories of what regular weather was like before these monstrosities and distortions that you presently experience. Like, I will tell you about a time when the sky was actually blue and clouds were puffy and white. And also, when you have lived someplace for a long amount of time, you get to know the weather patterns. And so, as I was speaking in my pretend old person's viewpoint, I've been around for long enough to know the weather patterns around here. And these weather patterns right now are bizarre. And many people who are not old folks in rocking chairs, but who are vital young people, but who have been on Earth long enough to be able to recognize the patterns that we see in weather and also in the rising and setting of the sun and the behavior of the moon, or what appears to be the moon, are all weird and all non-natural. And all of this is visible to my five senses, along with changes in the plants. So, of course, I'm a walk-in. I've been here for 24 years, but that's long enough to be able to know what the weather patterns were like in both upstate New York and in northern and southern California before these weird changes. And my plants started acting very, very weird over the past 10 years, like things flowering out of season, things that basically symptoms that told me that certain frequencies were being blocked out from the natural sunlight reaching us, making plants act weird. And some of my non-scientific proposals, like an explanation as to why that is happening, have been perhaps it is particulates in the sky, the things that are fictional sprayed in the air that are blocking out certain frequencies, or we have talked about planet Nibiru. Let me just get rid of this because this is definitely driving me crazy. Move that out of the way. So distracting. Boom. Planet Nibiru, something that is an extrasolar body that only comes around a certain amount of time, like whatever, once every 26,000 or however many thousand years. So things that are not often recorded in human history, and that have a huge impact on Earth's weather, and that the regime doesn't want to acknowledge. So you have like the fake scapegoats of burping cows and human activity, talking about changes to weather patterns, but then very, very real denial of the magical fairy sparkles in the sky that are actually changing weather patterns. And also the Nibiru or brown dwarf or extrasolar magnetic object that has been in the sky that has been absolutely disrupting not only Earth's weather patterns, but also the sun's weather patterns. So the answer to extend what I was saying is Initially, human science is flawed and it is just making a rough sketch of reality, not a true reportage. But then, even as an agenda has been deployed by the regime to diminish your knowledge of certain things that are going on in the sky, those already flawed sky pictures are then additionally edited and information is removed from them so that that way you do not get a real picture. So the short answer is no. You are not getting a genuine view or window into what is really happening, both on the sun and in Earth's atmosphere and in other places of the galaxy. You must look at all the things that are coming from NASA at this point as definitely intentional distortions and controlled information, as with all scientific information. I will now go on a huge diatribe against all of Earth's surface science, where I have been incredibly accommodative and attempts to build bridges of communication and also create moments of education between myself and the scientific viewpoint. I now recognize that there are such profound flaws that I don't think that I could continue to try to build these bridges to be able to bring someone from that materialistic, objective, and indoctrinated in science viewpoint into what is the true viewpoint that you have when you look through your higher senses here. So another thing that we really must call into question is the entire field of microbiology. And that includes looking at microbes, pathogens, identifying bacteria, looking at DNA, and identifying viruses and looking at viruses and viral behavior. That just in the same way that telescopes are not available to the common man or woman, and you take someone else's word for it, and then they give you an image and they distill it down and they say, here's what is going on, trust the scientists, priests, right? There also is a hijacking of the microscopes. You guys don't own your own microscopes and you are not looking at these labs. And these are, again, run by scientists, priests in their priestly their priestly vestments, performing ceremonies and rituals in different laboratories and then distilling out the answer as they come away from the oracle, being like, dun, dun, I have the answer. And so much of it is flawed. And it is not flawed through mere ignorance. It is intentionally flawed at this point to serve various agendas, like the agendas that were about totalitarianism, removal of personal rights, removal of medical sovereignty, and injection of mind control substances. So the field of virology has had a lot to do with supporting that worldwide agenda in supporting even the assertion of what viruses are and how they are detected, because they are not detectable by your eye, and they're also not detectable by a regular optical microscope. So you must be skeptical. So to distill this very, very long diatribe against science, you as positive questers on the path of knowledge must be extremely skeptical about anything that is shown to you. Like, here's a picture of a virus. Be like, what? Who took this picture? How did they take this picture? What equipment was used to take this picture? Was it changed in any way? Like when they use the Hubble telescope to take a picture of the sky, and they'll be like, look at this beautiful, this is the Cotton Candy Nebula. Like they give it a strange name and it looks so pretty. It's like, this is not a literal snapshot of the sky. This is an amalgamation of information that has been gathered from a variety of different sources, knitted together, and then extremely are artistically interpreted. Like they add colors, they emphasize certain things and de-emphasize other things. It doesn't always look like that. So if it's pink and fluffy and they call it the Cotton Candy Nebula, sometimes this is just marketing and it's ridiculous. And then also, like when you look at some of the things, like there were, I'm so mistrustful of NASA because there were some things that were done recently on some asteroids. I think that's the word for it. Floating space rocks that were within our solar system, where there were attempts to land probes on these space rocks while the space rocks were in orbit, and that human scientists were ostensibly, and teams were ostensibly monitoring this while it was happening. And the shape of the asteroids themselves, the asteroids were named after historical names of ancient Egypt, and the shapes of some of these asteroids, when you were shown photographs of them, looked exactly like geographic like the shape of a coastline in areas of the Middle East, like areas of Egypt. The entire thing felt like a fabricated psyop to me. I thought that is not a space rock. That is a fake picture. It is too coincidental that it's named after something in ancient Egypt and it looks like some kind of island or coastline in the area of Egypt, and that someone is playing prank on us. And I think that that is largely what's going on. So, of course, I am just speaking fictionally, but I am fictionally extremely skeptical of not only the SOHO satellites and everything that is told to us about space weather and also about Earth weather, but also about many of these missions to Mars, missions to dig for samples on asteroids, and also things that are supposedly being perceived on a microscopic level. So some bacteria, it is easy to see with optical microscopes, and you can see their behavior. They're like little tiny one-celled animals. But some things are so tiny that I think that scientists are not actually seeing them. And then I actually think that they are drawing erroneous conclusions about what's actually happening in your body. And then I think that there's an additional hijacking of the narrative, even beyond those innocent, erroneous explanations about the activities within your body that is all driven to destroy you. So when there's information that is not truthful about the sun and space, it is intended to destroy you. It is not just about like the government has secret files about aliens that they refuse to tell you about, like, whatever, the files or something like that. It's not really just that. It is a withholding of truthful information and a displaying of false light, that all of this is hugely disempowering. And it is very difficult, makes it very difficult for you to navigate reality. So what I would say the best approach is to navigate reality. Please do not listen to anything that you get from your little screens. And if you're not getting it from your inner eye over here and your own higher senses, be extremely skeptical of it. And ideally, you have a rapport with the sun. As I get into the curriculum of the class today, the real truth is that you are connected to the sun on such a profound level. And when you do your sun gazing, you talk to the sun, information should supersede any type of a snapshot that comes from NASA or satellites or is displayed to you on a small screen. Okay. And let's also start to bring our whole system of priority of information away from the small screens and towards our own first person experiences of reality. So if you want to know about a butterfly, reach out with your mind. Go find a butterfly someplace. Reach out with your mind, touch on it and feel it and see if you can know and comprehend things by touching on it. Don't go to Google or Grok or whatever and say, computer, tell me about butterflies. All right. And same thing with the sun. So let's now, I got to tell you about this Atlas crapola thing, but then let's get into the actual curriculum of the sun. So Atlas is another thing where we get all of these occasional reports of like space debris that is coming through the solar system. And I'm always 100% skeptical of this. We do have much space debris that comes through our solar system. Some of it is non-conscious, just floating rocks and junk and garbage. Some of it is conscious and naturally derived. Some of it contains consciousness or echoes of consciousness, but it is not naturally derived. And some of it is a mixture of the two, like the brown dwarf. It contains some residues of consciousness or potentials for consciousness, and it's not technological, but the beings there do encourage people to use technology that encourages them, like that opens the doorway for them to be powerful in the world. So, I mean, I struggle to find descriptive terms to be able to tell you about what is going on there. And then there's also some forms of plank metal spaceships that are kind of like what is in your fictional story, Battlestar Galactica. They look like metal skins, but they have something inside of them that is semi-biological, and that is the derivative of something that once was alive. So these melded contraptions that are semi-machine, semi-alive monstrosities. And all that stuff does exist out there. So like there have been times when there are things that are supposedly coming through the solar system where they're like, oh yeah, there's a comet. But somehow it turned. Like comets don't turn. Comets just go. They're like, I'm not intelligent. I just go in this direction. But somehow it like went, and then it turned, and then it kept going. And they're like, that's weird. That comics don't do that. Or it had like this other one that had like jets at the front of it. Like usually a comic goes along, it's like a snowball going through space and has just like a big long plume out behind it. And this one had somehow a plume that went in front of it. Like that's like it was breaking it and making it go slower instead of the plume behind it accelerating it, making it go faster. And everyone was like, that's weird. But I don't know if that was real or if that was more NASA fabrication, fictional NASA, fictionally fabricating its fictional crapola stories. So to deploy severe skepticism on all those things. So Atlas, when I heard that story, I did not get a ring of truth to it at all. So I have not only been very skeptical, but I thought this too much serves the timing and the agenda of the final card in the Illuminati card game, which is fake alien invasion. And the fake alien invasion coincides with and does not supersede the Sananda, Jesus, benign, divine, alien, spiritual visitor Illuminati card. They're kind of smooshed together. Recognition of aliens from space, along with ancient astronaut theory, which you've been groomed for. And by the way, Graham Hancock, like, I don't think that that's a good person because he did a lot with the grooming of the ancient aliens agenda for humanity. And I was just reading a thing where he was talking about how much he took ayahuasca. And I'm like, I think that Graham Hancock just got like programmed by lower astral, bad entities and probably CIA agents masquerading as ancient gods in the astral realm and told him a bunch of nonsense. So I think super yellow caution flags on everything that we've heard from Graham Hancock and his whole cadre and all of his colleagues, because they came at a very particular time that was encouraging your mind to think, oh, we had ancient visitors, and they were all clank clank metal spaceship spacemen, like all Ziggy Stardust spacemen, and they fell to Earth, and everyone here worshipped them like cargo cults. And then whatever, they died or they flew away, and then we were like, oh, spaceman, come back. That I mean, I didn't even know wait. I just dumped a giant narrative on you that we need to disentangle, but it's like I do not agree to any of those narratives. So that a lot of that is like talking about Zecharia Sitchin, things that you have been groomed to believe about the Anunnaki and the ancient Sumerians, the origins of civilization, and it always includes the presumed return of the king. That's what you have to be skeptical of. That so many of these cherry-picked cultural myths and other things that Graham Hancock got from his ayahuasca explorations have to do with the narrative of the bearded sky god returns. Okay. And that relates to Quetzalcoatl, who is the bearded sky god, who is like a snake mixed with a bird that is from Mesoamerica. And that is also from some of these stories of Anunnaki, who all were bearded, kind of like, white people, sky gods, and a lot of other things where you're getting the evidence from ancient carvings, cuneiform cylinder scrolls and all these things. That is the preparation of your mind to be able to accept the concept of return of bearded sky god, benevolent, Jesus, Sananda, I love you type of alien, I come in peace type of alien, and how that relates to some of NASA's myth building. NASA does a lot with myth building in terms of like, why is the show put on? We're landing on an asteroid to, dig a tiny shovel full of asteroid sand, right? And kind of like put it into the robot's mouth and incinerate it and see what's the asteroid made of. Like, no, that is not what you're doing. But it is a performative ritual that is about awakening or feeding certain astral archetypes. Okay, like NASA's not stupid, but it's largely psychological psyops and performative rituals to make you believe in certain things. So a lot of the stories that are here about what otherworldly life is, where it is, and what its agenda is are complete BS, complete nonsense, steaming piles that you should not believe in at all. But the Atlas thing plays into all of that. The timing of it and the desperation of the Illuminati Dark Ones, that they are pretty much out of luck. I want to say SOL, they're S out of luck. And they are trying to do some kind of a Hail Mary pass of like, I guess just distract everyone with, Return of the Bearded King. And then we'll have a benevolent fake alien invasion, what's it called? Theocracy, when you're ruled by some kind of a fake god. All right. They're kind of preparing you for that. Of course, when I talk to you about this, I am literally giving you the antibodies, the distrust, not to feed their agendas and actually to dismantle their agendas. I have the chat hidden because I get distracted. Let me just see. Oh no, never worry if you guys are late to class. Thank you very much though for your for trying to be a good student. Thank you very much. Michael says no more peaceful process here in Canada. 10 years or more prison time. Wow. And says, and no more going hiking in national forest, 25,000 fine, control. Michael, thank you for that comment. I remember reading about that fine. It started in the summertime, and it was in an area of Canada where they have a lot of fires, right, up in the forests. And instead of addressing anything that has to do with fire safety and forest management, they banned people from walking in the forest, supposedly because they were going to set fires. But then, and the 2 weeks after that, the government also decided to spray glyphosate, and not just the regular kind, but the kind that's like amped up, extra bad glyphosate, as a herbicide across giant and a desiccant across giant areas of the forest. And everyone was like, well, wait a minute, doesn't that just start fires? And also, shouldn't we kick out all these homeless encampments that are actually in danger of starting fires? And they're like, no, the homeless can live there, but the house cannot walk there recreationally. Like, none of this makes sense. It is bizarre. And anybody that has a working brain would actually, or any outsider like me would look at this and be like, that's very bizarre. It's like if you went back in time to the Salem witch trials in the 1600s in Massachusetts, right? You went there, all these people that were like effing insane. And you were like, your community members are witches and like, you should not try to drown them. And they're like, they would try to burn you. They would think you're the witch. So you're looking at levels of total irrationality. And I would even say mass hysteria. Let me scroll to more comments here. And Michael goes on to say, NASA is Hebrew. It means to deceive. I definitely believe that the agency NASA is not a benevolent agency. It is not even a space agency, but that it is largely involved in psychological operations. And if you want to know, I mean, I will open this can of worms, and I always speak fictionally, of course, but then let's get into the sun. But this relates to questions about Atlas and stuff like that. I think that you should be very skeptical of all of the footage and assertions about the moon landing in 1969. And I know that this is a huge can of worms, but I will just say when I place my tendril of attention on that event, everything about it seems fake as F-U-C-K to me. And some people are true believers and they're like, no, we actually did go to the moon. But some people are, I think, more sensible. And I think that there's a much larger story that is going on in terms of actual space travel, actual visits to the moon, and actual inhabitation of the ISS, International Space Station, because the truth is humans have not been able to explore and actually colonize areas outside of the atmosphere because there actually have been other worldly presences that are like, no, you're not allowed to do this. So they do a lot with green screen. Okay, I'm just going to say that. And my favorite things to look at are these video compilations of NASA green screen fails where the astronauts are supposedly floating in the ISS, but then you can very easily see where they are actually in harnesses, suspended a la some kind of Hollywood stunt people, like Mission Impossible or something like that. And that they are not actually floating in zero G at all, that they're in front of a green screen and this is all FX. And actually, once I see that, I can't unsee it. And here's the thing that I am able to tell and know, that these supposed footage of people who are supposedly floating in zero gravity from NASA are not truthful. It is two things, actually. One is the flowing or non-flowing nature of the lady's hair. So they love to have female astronauts that have long flowing hair. And then they love to spray them with, I want to say spray paint, like a very, very strong, not sealant, but like hairspray, so that their hair goes straight up, like Marge Simpson, like directly straight up. And it's stiff. And it just stays there, sticking straight up. And if you've ever looked at footage of people that are in these types of parabolic plane flights that simulate zero G. So parabola is when the plane starts out down here, it goes up and a giant curve. Then there's going to be like 8 seconds of zero G, 8 seconds of zero G. We're floating like Major Tom. And then it goes back down. And then, of course, you throw up. And that comedy. But when you see footage of ladies with long hair in those 8 moments of zero G in these exploration flights for training, their hair flows. It looks like a space mermaid. It looks like kelp under the sea. And you don't see that in these horrible, fake, as F-U-C-K, NASA, silly psyops. All right. So the hair is one thing, very, very no movement on the hair. But then the other thing is, so I'm a dancer and I'm very, very aware of people's posture. And your posture in gravity and your posture when you are, how your pelvis is holding up your whole entire body when you are in gravity. All right. So when you look at these pictures and the astronauts are in harnesses, you can see very easily that like their pelvis is in a harness and then all of their vertebrae are stacked up. Their center of gravity is over their pelvis and then their head is over their center of gravity. So they erase the lines, but what they can't erase is the posture, which is the posture of an earthling under gravity. And when you are in zero gravity, you would not. So imagine like this is a human being floating like up and down like this. Your body is up and down like this because you're in gravity. But when you are not in gravity, or if you're like floating in salt water or under the ocean, scuba diving or something like that, your spine goes like this. Like here's your head over here and here's your pelvis over here. You don't have to worry about your center of gravity. And also your back posture changes. You are able to elongate and change the curve of your back posture because, again, you don't have to be holding your head over your pelvis. So humans who have never been in zero gravity, don't blame yourself for getting fooled because you're like, you don't know how your spine would actually look and you don't know how your hair would actually look. And that is what other humans are exploiting your level of ignorance in order to play a joke on you that's not a funny joke because this isn't just about making a fake video. This is about misportraying things to you and manipulating your belief system and your worldview about the world. So the deeper meaning as to why so much would be spent on fake videos or a fake moon landing is because this has a huge impact on how you view the world and how you view yourself as humanity amidst the world. So just know that you're being manipulated and know that there are also now many illusions, and I don't even want to say hallucinations. They are projections on the sky and projections into your retinas that are being digitally controlled, that you must be extra skeptical, even if you see something with your own eyes, to consider that you might be looking at something that is a false light projection. So I think that is the story with Atlas. And I also think that it is always going to be a nothing burger, that you're never really going to get that moment where there is a big disclosure. Everyone's like, disclosure and show us the real aliens. We want the alien autopsy. And you guys remember like it was like within the past year or two, but they were like, it's always in Mexico. It's always a non-English speaking country. But they're like, oh yeah, like they found aliens in Mexico. And I'm telling you, it looked like a tamale. It did not look like an alien. It looked like a corn tamale. And like it was made of like masa or something like that. And I thought it was just like the silliest thing in the world. So all of those things, like you're being ridiculously distracted and manipulated, and none of that is genuinely informing you in any way. Um, Now let's get into the truth of reality and the truth of what the sun and so we have to talk about one more question from lovely sorry, I'm rearranging my screen here. Quality of light. Quality of light. I told you because you have the sun and you have the sun simulator. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now that is not being recognized at all, but it should be and should be spoken about in the community. So some of what is hiding planet Nibiru or that extrasolar magnetic object, some of it is different lenses. I think actually that the James Webb telescope is not just a telescope for receiving optical light or other form of frequency or radiation, but that I think that it is also the mirrors and the lensing effect of that satellite array is also being used to distort our view from Earth of what we can actually see of other things. This is none of this that I've been speaking about for the past 42 minutes as part of my prepared notes, but it's important stuff for you to know. So you're not seeing a true view of the sky. Even before they created the nanotechnology fictionally and turned on the 5G fictionally, you weren't getting a true view of the sky because there is some, I want to call it movie magic. It's like, mirrors and lenses that are being used to distort what you can actually see and what's actually reaching you. So a lot of this is because secret societies and those who are the dark evil magicians that infest large levels of government, they've known about this for a long amount of time, and they actually are more informed than the peasantry, and they have not wanted the peasants to either go crazy, go bananas, or to revolt, or to stop pushing your plows. You know, like they're like, well, if they looked up and saw this giant, threatening planet, or no one would go to their job, no one would pay their taxes, society would crumble, cats and dogs living together. Let's just wipe this all away and tell them everything is normal. That is literally the story of the past 10 years. Okay. So you not only cannot trust what is being hand fed to you as pablum from the controllers and the control system to say, here's what is going on in the sky, and also a lot of what is generally going on in the sky has been totally hidden from you while your own personal, mental, and energetic freedoms have been continually amputated and made smaller and smaller. So yeah, big, important stuff. Let me hydrate over here. Some of my wonderful, this is a mixture of coffee and mate. I invented it. It's coffee tea. Okay. In total contrast from everything that I've just been telling you about, the mentality of NASA, the materialists, and these very, very benighted earthly human scientists, there's a completely different level of consciousness that is at the level of the sun, the stars, and pure light. You live within a giant self-aware apparatus or being. That is what the sun and the stars are. And that is what the world of pure light is. And that is what this shape is. And that's why I make this shape, like in all of my paintings and put it in all of my motifs. This is the shape as the organizational principle of everything. So the way that signals reach you, they come from the galactic center, which is shaped like this. And then they go into another shell or level of reality, which is the sun. They travel through hyperspace. Consciousness broadcasts travel through hyperspace, not linearly from point A to point B, and reach the sun. And then it travels from the sun to you again, non-linearly, not from point A to point B, because you are shaped like this too. And this place where I'm putting my pointer in you is the same as the place where I'm putting my pointer that's in the sun, is the same as the place where I'm putting my pointer that's in the center of the galaxy. You are actually not distant from the center of the galaxy at all. You are overlapping or directly tangential to it. And the information that comes from the center of the galaxy, these are literally thought forms. So these are not just impulses, and I'm telling you, it's like a brain. It's literally a brain. You live inside of a big, giant brain, okay? The brain has thoughts and narratives, just like you and your brain, you have thoughts and narratives. What's inside of your mind? Stories. You have stories about the world. You have worldviews. How about here? Cheeky is here. She was just playing over here behind me. She's sleeping right here. So let's show you. Here she is. Lighting conditions aren't good. You can't see her, but she's right there. Cheeky has a worldview. She has a brain. She has thoughts and dreams and senses and a way of organizing the information that comes to her about the world. Okay, so this is not just an analogy. The stars and the entire galaxy, the entire star system is a brain, and we live in the thoughts of that brain. So first you got to imagine a big giant animal that has thoughts. And one of the thoughts is that there is something called a sun or a star that is an emanator of consciousness and possibilities and probabilities. So going into my formal curriculum here, the sun is not as objective materialist science describes it. It's not a nuclear furnace that is dead and stupid. It's not just a big giant hot object in the sky. It's not just, like gonna burn your face off if you go too close, or emitting a lot of high energy particles that would fry you if you had too many of them flowing through you. It is a supernatural object in the sense that it hovers between the threshold of what you define as material matter, stuffity stuff, and stuff that is light or pure energy, which is not stuffity stuff. It's just energy. So it literally straddles the definition between what is matter. Matter experiences both time and space, and light. Light experiences only space, but not time. It experiences all time as now. The sun is a doorway. All of these stars are doorways. They are portals of not only consciousness, but of energy or narrative potentials. So an anthropomorphic or ego-based way of comprehending this is to look at the sun as a person, a thinker. And that thinker has a dream or a view of reality or a story, and is emitting, sending out that story like shells and waves of thought forms that create our world, including characters like you and me, and organized activities like the events of our lives. And the characteristics and events of your life are literally what is evidenced in the shape of the vortexes, the many multiple timelines, and this as a refinery of consciousness, with some areas of you over here and over here being like the super way distorted version of you as a character. And then that one particular timeline, that one perfect math timeline that the sun thinker or script writer, that is like the perfect version. Perfect. The one that describes you or expresses the trueness of you the most. Like there's a character named Aurora in the narrative that the sun thinks about, right? And there are some versions of reality where I am being my truest self. That's the central core timeline. And then there are some versions of reality where like I'm not being my truest self because maybe nobody ever invented rainbow paint and I need rainbow in order to be able to be my true self. So it's like, no, you're only a part of yourself on those peripheral timelines. All right. So these are all the character potentials of you and your life. These are literally thoughts that come from the sun. You're a character in the play or a character in the narrative dream structure that the sun is thinking about. The sun literally thinks about all of the events on our world. And also, I wanted to sing that old-fashioned song. I'm not feeling very silly today, but sometimes I break into show tunes. Remember I think it's Alan Parsons Project. There is the eye in the sky looking at you. I can read your mind. It's kind of like a 70s prog rock song. But anyway, I like those lyrics. And this is what I'm trying to get across to you. The sun isn't just a thinker or a dreamer. thinking its thoughts and creating the potentials of you and being like, yeah, well, wouldn't it be weird if there was this rainbow lady named Aurora and she had a little small dog and she made rainbow jacket? That would be so weird. But what if the sun not only thought of those potentials and described me as a character, but also created all of the matter of my body, including every atomic element, but also created all the food that would sustain me and molecularly, propel me through time, but also created all the time possibilities and probabilities that I would be encountering or that would be sustaining me through my life, but also lived inside of my own mind as a miniature sun and felt everything that I was experiencing within that narrative potential and lived my five senses reality alongside of me from the first person viewpoint. That is the essence of what we're talking about here. The first thing in my questions of my notes that I sent out, I'll read it to you. It says, is the sun literally Christ consciousness, and how does that relate to sun worship in ancient history? Boom. A lot of the things that are comforting and nice about the very flawed Christian narrative of church-based worship of Jesus Christ is the sense that Jesus is not only walking alongside of you, but is at times inhabiting you as a best buddy, guide, mentor, protector. And there are a lot of flaws with this, including that in our present extremely united world, people who are genuinely open to being inhabited by a positive Christ figure are instead being rug pulled and disappointedly inhabited by imposters who are not the true Christ, but are self-proclaimed bearded sky gods who are looking at vulnerable potential aspirants to exploit. Like, look at that believer down there. They believe in Jesus and they want him to live in them and take the wheel. I'm going to take the wheel. And I'm speaking now as an antichrist. I am not antichrist, but I'm speaking as if I'm an antichrist monster. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to go exploit that guy. He really believes in Jesus. And he's like, Lord Jesus, live through me. And I'll come over and I'll be like, I'm Lord Jesus. I think I'm going to live through you now. Got it? Dangerous stuff. Dangerous stuff. People here are very much in need, very desperate for connection, very much needing to reconnect to the origins of consciousness, which is not just the sun, but is the galactic center and the origins of light itself. And many people are being exploited and fooled by a false thing that is not the real Christ, that is not genuinely Jesus, coming into them and living through them. And that is the real danger of transhumanism. It literally preys upon that flaw in your belief system that you're like, oh yeah, Jesus, take the wheel, which is what I say as my funny way of saying sometimes people abdicate from their own willpower in their life. And they're like, divine, benevolent, external God, you take over my life. I don't know what I'm doing here. You live my life. And we actually don't do that. We actually don't do that with the sun. Let me hydrate here because we must take personal responsibility. Taking personal responsibility for our own free will, our own preferences and actions is essential for our own soul's growth. So this is a perfect example. I am here as an outgrowth of the sun and of all of the stars. I have my own individuated body, my own individuated needs. My own individuated body and individuated free will needs just now were like, I'm a little thirsty. I think I need a little something. I didn't say, oh, I'm so thirsty. I think I'm going to die. Maybe one day the sun will come along and pour something in my mouth and I will stay alive. If you did that, you will die. If you just sit here and be like, I'm just gonna wait and maybe someone will pour liquid in my mouth, you will die. You will probably die in whatever, under 48 hours. No one's gonna do that. You're gonna have to effort. So this is all about the mentality of praying for opening oneself up to the benevolence of a larger organism to supersede your own free will or your own efforts. Can't do that. You can't do that. So you must balance your requirements as an individual and your motivations or impulses as an individual with the external reality or the ecosystem or the larger circumstances that support you. You have mutual responsibility and reciprocal responsibility. Like when this, so okay, the sun is your creator, your direct creator, like your parent, giving you all the physical um raw materials to build your body, giving you the timelines and potentials for you to experience reality, but also giving you your own self-direction and free will to explore those potentials in reality. The sun does live through you when you are in a real-time rapport. And I told you many times in my class that the problem has been a genetic modification of humanity, not just really one, but a series of genetic modifications, along with the implantation of various non-life affirming verbalized mental structures at the level of the solar plexus or yellow, which corresponds to the cerebrum in your brain. These implantations and the verbal mind and the mental structure of having a verbalized thought structure in your mind all the time cuts you off from talking to the sun and makes it so that the sun is not 100% inhabiting your body. So to make it very clear, I know the phonemes. The sun illuminated figure in the sky sounds very similar to the Son of God, the illuminated figure that mythologically, religiously came to earth to help you guys out. Like, that's not by accident. And that Jesus take the wheel, like the lady who got in a car accident because she was like, Jesus take the wheel. And that concept relating to the sun taking over in your life. What you're supposed to do is be in partnership and never allow imposters to come between you and the real sun. So everything that I'm talking about, if it's satellites, chemtrail fairy dust, or something that's on the outside of your corneas or in your retinas or in your pineal gland, something comes between you and the sun. It is like a barrier in a relationship. Like there's you and there's your lover, and there's something that is coming between you. Like any whatever mythological fairy tale, whatever, like, the princess is trapped in a tower and there's all these vines that grow around it and they're covered in thorns, and then the prince can't get to her. This is what we're talking about. Although you are the sun and you are also this individuated presence, and you really desperately want to reconnect with yourself. You love yourself. Let's go through some basic foundational presumptions. You can presume that you love yourself, and you can presume that you are non-self-destructive or that you are life affirmative. Like, I love myself and I want to keep on being here and I want to live in a good way, right? And you can presume, like, if you're the sun and you just got it. Somebody just had a light bulb moment. They're like, I'm the sun and I'm having a dream and I'm dreaming about a reality. And in that reality, there's a person whose name is your name. Your name. I'm like magic mirror. I'm looking at all the people in the meeting. I can say all of your different names. I never want to make people feel uncomfortable if I speak their name during the meeting, but your name, like whatever, Chris, Charlie, you're the sun, and you are dreaming or creating or writing a narrative where you are these different individuated people. And you're like, well, this is kind of confusing because there's one sun, but there's a lot of people. I'm like, I know. And not only people, but blades of grass and trees, ferns, dogs. It's all the sun. Amazing. All of that is emanated from and sustained by the sun. This planet is the dream of the sun. I have described it as an artistic expression, the same way that I'm an artist, and in my studio, I envision a creation and then I manifest it. Earth is the sun's art studio. Or actually, I would really say, I hesitated there. The solar system is the sun's art studio. And each of the planets is or are some of the sun's panels, its masterpieces, its creations. And the biological life that arises and can be sustained on each of these different planets is or are also the sun's creations. And it's not just about life, like here we have whatever, a microbe with a flagella. Look at that little flagella go. Like that's boring. There are narratives. When you have microbes, you don't just have one microbe, you have a whole little ocean of microbes. And like these guys are motivated to do this, and these guys are motivated to do this, and they mush together and they do stuff, and there's drama. There's stuff that happens, there's stories. These guys flagellate in this direction, and these guys squash in this direction, and the amoebas go like this. Like stories are being told on the microbial level. And of course, the human anthropocentric levels, like they're stupid bugs, like they don't know anything. But from their viewpoint, microbial viewpoint, like big giant things are happening. Or from the viewpoint of plants, what is happening with their different seeds and their different sproutings and germinations and everything like that. Like there's a whole drama that is unfolding. So, and then of course, you can definitely comprehend there's a drama or a narrative in your own life, character development and refinement of consciousness, and also interconnectedness of motivations and causality events. So the microbes and the plants and the humans and the dogs are all having one big, giant, interconnected narrative. That is actually a dream that the sun is emanating and sustaining. And when we are able to meditate and turn off the verbalized mind, we reconnect to the sun and we send back our truthful reportage of what we're experiencing. We should be living in communion with the sun the whole entire time. We should never have this thing where it's separation and then all of a sudden we get back together and the sun's like, like when you go to visit your grandma, she's like, you never call, you never write. When are you coming home to visit? And then you go see your grandma, she's like, I'm so happy to see you. It's been 20 years. Like, that's what I'm talking about. The sun loves you is like, why you don't come to visit me? And then it's not been your fault. When you meditate, the sun finally reconnects with you and it's like, hello, very glad that you finally reconnected. We're supposed to stay connected the whole time. So really, when we talk about meditation, the goal is not just to do like 20 minutes of connection with the sun a day. It is really to be connected with the sun at all times. And in order to achieve that, that is really ascended mastery. You will not be motivated or scheduled by regular human mundane concerns. You would not be like, well, the boss tells me I have to go and do this job or that job, and therefore I cannot do my ascension activities, so I must be sure to listen to my boss. Like, no, you can't do that. When you are an ascended master, the sun is your boss. And the only person or thing or consciousness that is directing your trajectory through time is the sun. And that supersedes any religion, any government, and any money paying boss. I don't have a better word for that, but someone who is motivating you through physical money. You become completely uncontrollable in your wild feral state because you are 100% taking your directives from the sun. And it doesn't matter if someone paid you $1 million. Be like, go buy me 5 apples from the store. I'll pay you $1 million and then bring them back here. Be like, I'm not door dashing you your apples even for $1 million because I listen to the sun and the sun is telling me what I need to do is do something totally different with my time. And that's what sends you down a road of time. Money is time distortion. This is not a part of my notes, but I just have to say this. Money is basically like a bribery that bribes people to distort their behavior. If I'm like, hey, will you get me 5 apples at the store? You're like, no, with attitude. No, I will not get you 5 apples at the store, Aurora. It's not on my timeline. I'm supposed to be doing this over here. I'm like, well, how about if I pay you $1 million? Will you do it then? And you're like, yeah, I would do it then. And so that shows you how $1 million would distort your timeline. And it's not that, your timeline cannot be distorted. It's just a question of what is the price of the distortion of your timeline. Because if you're like, no, I'm not going to let you distort me for $1 million. I'm like, okay, I got 2, 500. Will you go DoorDash me for $500 million? You're like, whoa, you're getting tempted. About $1 billion. You're like, okay, Aurora, I'll DoorDash for $1 billion. Like, that's it. That's the price. Figure it out. that through enough bribery and temptation, you would go off your path in order to get the reward. And the reward is this fake stuff that people invented called money to be able to bribe you off your path. So, what are you supposed to do? Eschew money completely? No, because that also puts you on peripheral timelines over here where you live in a cardboard box because you don't have enough money. The optimum timeline is the timeline where you listen to your directives from the sun, and the sun lives through you. It looks through your eyes, tastes through your senses, and feels through your gestures, and you get paid for it. And this is ideal. The sun does want to know of your life experience. Think of it in this way. The sun has created everything here in this beautiful artistic expression. And then you are here as a creator and a creature to experience that expression. So imagine like whatever, what most people consider to be a lavish day on a vacation. Walk on the beach, right? In someplace very beautiful. And then go to a beautiful beachside restaurant and have something wonderful, like I'm envisioning, like some seafood, like some shrimp or something like that. And it's very, very beautifully prepared. And you sit there and you look at the ocean and maybe you're drinking some wine or something really fantastic and you eat your beautiful seafood. And that whole experience is something that the sun should be feeling. All of that is the sun's own body. The sun sparkling across the ocean is the sun. The energy of the sand is the sun. It's the world of pure light. You and your light body experiencing that's light. And all of that light should be experienced in a direct moment by the sun as the great experiencer. And then when you sit down to your meal, the sun is like, yeah, I created those shrimp. That shrimp is me. And then you're eating it and you're me. And I feel the sensations on my tongue of me eating me, but I'm not grossed out. This is not like some gross cannibalism thing. You know what it is? Quantum entanglement. You're like, I'm the food, and I'm that person eating the food, and I'm the sun illuminating the whole entire experience. And that's truthful at everything. The cutlery is made of the sun. The glass is made of the sun. The wine is made of the sun. The chair is made of the sun. Your butt is made of the sun. Like I'm getting very silly here, but of course, you know what I'm talking about. Every single aspect of the narrative structure derives from the sun. To be super accurate, certain things, like if I had a little piece of gold, like here, my earring is not pure gold, but here's some gold in it. This didn't come from this sun. The gold molecules that are in my earring didn't come from this sun. You know why? This sun is still alive. And gold is really only made in the incredibly profound and intense levels of heat and pressure and drama that happen at the end of a star's life. That's when some of these heavier elements are created, and the sun is going through like its death throes, and then it has like a supernova explosion at the end of it, and the gold like explodes everywhere and goes sparkling throughout the galaxy, and then some of that gold ends up coalescing and being part of new planetary structures that are formed. That's the gold that's in my earring. Okay, so this came from a star that's not here anymore. And in order for us to have these elements, some stars had to go bye-bye. Mommy, daddy, where did grandma go? Grandma went bye-bye so that you could have some gold and some other incredibly necessary elements that make up your existence here. So I hope that also informs some of the sense of the mortality of stars, the necessity of the mortality of stars, the production of matter from the life and deaths of stars, and how all of these lives and deaths of stars create the foundation and to even sustain life. All right. So there's a lot of that there. We now need to talk about the connection of the sun's energy field and your individual energy field. Again, pardon me or thank you and celebrate me while I hydrate. Because whenever I do these, like I'm not just talking, I'm doing a marathon. Like I walk at like 1 mile an hour, but I use a lot of energy and a lot of things make me thirsty. Like I'm running a marathon here. I'm getting thirsty. Thank you. Magnetic field line crossings. This is what happens between the sun's heliosphere and Earth's magnetosphere, both of which are shaped like this. I could get the whiteboard and I can draw it, but like I don't know if I have the patience to touch technology today. You heard my whole diatribe. I'm like very dramatic. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this today, guys. So maybe I'll just describe things to you. But the sun's heliosphere is shaped just like this, and it encompasses the entire solar system. So it's very, very large. And within that energy field, there is, all of the other planets, including Earth's magnetosphere. And where these two objects overlap, that's called magnetic field line crossings. And what that means is even though my physical presence and the planet here that I'm on, from linear motion, point A to point B, 93 million miles separate the Earth from the sun. But because the magnetic fields are nested within each other, there are places and moments where it is as if there is no space and no distance between these two objects or layers of reality. These are places where the field lines cross and energy is transferred from one organism to the other. So now you must move beyond the sense of consideration that your epidermis is the external barrier of your body and that the sun's coronosphere is the external barrier of what we would define as the sun. The sun has a body called the heliosphere, and you live within the sun's body, the solar system. All right. So the coronosphere is like the glowy area around the outside of the sun that you would say that's its epidermis, its skin, and everything inside of there is the sun, and everything outside of there is not the sun. The entire heliosphere, force field shaped like this, is the sun, and you live within the sun. You live within the brain or the mind of the sun. You live within the body of the sun. And as you have an individual body, there are some, like I said, moments in time or coordinates in time space where your body connects very effectively with the sun itself. These are the magnetic field line crossings. So that means that there are some places, like if here's the sun and then this is, my lip gloss is the earth. Earth is orbiting the sun, going around, do. But sometimes when this earth is over here, it's not connecting effectively to the sun through its magnetic field. But when earth orbits and then all of a sudden it's over here, boom, it just orbited into position where now there is a way where its force field that surrounds it connects with this force field directly. There's no distance and no space between it. That's what I'm talking about when I say I am the sky looking at you. To move away from negative associations with total surveillance states and panopticons that are negative and that are government operated and technologically based. They are the lesser imposters and the evil imposters for what you're actually supposed to experience naturally, which is the sun directly living through and perceiving through the eyes of every organism that is in this world. And that is both the eater and the eated. So the shrimp that are like dying, they're like, oh, like I'm dead. Someone's going to eat me. And then the person that's like, ooh, shrimp. Both of those people are the sun experiencing itself. And again, it's not meant to be like some kind of grotesque thing where it's like, like I'm eating myself like that. I hope that that didn't look crazy. And I also hope that the AI does not choose that as my thumbnail. But we must use humor here. But it is the sense of the sacredness of being nourished by all of these different ingestions of the ecosystem. When I do my Path of Light class and I talk about how a photon becomes ingested or becomes a part of a photosynthetic plant, it's not like the plant is like some gross predator where it's like, who can I eat? Here's a photon, I'm going to eat you. I'm going to eat you. And the photons are like, oh no, I'm being eaten. Help, help, I'm falling into matter. No, nothing like that at all. A photon is very, very intentional. It's like, I'm a photon now. I'm a photon. I can't wait to get out of bed in the morning and go get ingested by some kind of an organism and become a part of the world of matter. The photons do it intentionally. They don't fall to Earth. They don't accidentally get eaten by a chloroplast. They don't accidentally get turned into matter or a glucose molecule that you can then eat. They do it all very intentionally. And each of those photons is a consciousness tendril or emanation of the primary ray of consciousness of the sun. The sun is intentionally becoming a part of the world of matter. It's not getting stuck. I talk about the Essenes and the Gnostics, who are drama queens, who are like, birth is a curse and existence is a prison, and I'm stuck here in the world of matter. And I'm like, no, no. But that's cute. No, you came here on purpose. You're a being of pure light, and you're a photon, and you're many photons. You came here on purpose, and you're part of the world of matter on purpose. And also, this is only half of the journey, and the other half of the journey is the reconnection and the restoration or the sending of all of that light back to the sun. So when you are eating any food, if it is shrimp or if it is avocados or if it is whatever tortillas, you should be sending back that food to the sun that emanated it, which is basically the experience of ingestion. And when you are in love, you are in a perfect reciprocal two-way street rapport between yourself and the sun. And that is supposed to be the sun benevolently overlooking its creation and experiencing the first person, narratives of the lives of everybody who is in that world or in that dream. So imagine like a giant being that is a dreamer, that is so complex that it can dream up billions of characters and then inhabit those billions of characters while they go through every moment of the day. Like just imagine the RAM or the processing power necessary for this, and then to be experiencing all of the interactions, like the eater and the eated, right? But so much of our experience is beyond quantum entanglement and photons ingesting photons. It also is about social dynamics, which can be exchange of emotional energy, exchange of intellectual energy. So when I'm a photon and you're a photon and we meet each other and we're talking and exchanging ideas, I am giving light to you from the sun and you're ingesting it, and you're giving me light from the sun and I'm ingesting it. So I'm a piece of the sun, you're a piece of the sun. The sun is literally giving light to the sun through this interaction. And through this interaction, all aspects of the sun or of pure light accrete more light. It is a non-entropic event, or what Dan Winter calls a neg-entropy event, an event where entropy gets less, or a better way of saying it is intelligence increases, light increases. Light is information, light is intelligence, light is organized information. The more that the sun interacts with itself, the more light is created. And this is how you can have an infinite experience. And this is how you can have eternal life. And this is how you can have a system that doesn't devolve and lose energy and fall into total entropy at the end. So what actually happens with consciousness is our consciousness and our light and life force is not entropic, is self-generative, self-organizing, getting faster, getting brighter, getting more, just getting more everything. And at a certain point, all of that moreness, the moreness of stuff, exits this level of reality. And there's nothing left here in reality except for the stuff that doesn't have energy. And that is a world of pure entropy. So what happens is you get so energized as an entire collective of information or consciousness that all of the light from the organized, coherent light from this level of reality kind of busts forward and poofs into another level of reality, and there's no light or information or organizational presence here left, and that is what is known as the entropic heat death of the universe. But it just means one storyline ends. All of the energy and momentum and narrative juice or juiciness from that timeline goes into the news story. All right. So this is a refinery of consciousness. And that moment of transferring from the old narrative to the new narrative means that you leave behind a lot of stuff that either was inherently a distortion, something that happened just from the dilution of consciousness that is an inherent part of entry into matter, and or anything that's bad math. Anything that's bad math, anything that's a mistake, anything that was malevolently created as intentionally bad math or intentional mistakes, that's what gets refined out and left behind. So you have two purposes here as the sun experiences the sun's self. One is self-sustenance, feeding the self and or organizing more light, and it is also refining out the stuff that is not light, that is doo-doos or erroneous or non-information or non-informative. So the stellar wind, the sun's coronal ejections. This is actually relevant because there was just a big coronal mass ejection yesterday, and I can definitely feel it. I'm very tuned into the sun, and it was beautiful today because when those ejections come to the planet, I am so ready to surf those waves. I am like, I'm ready. I'm like a space mermaid. I'm like, hit me with the solar wind. I'm ready to go. Yes, and you are also fellow lasagnas, and you will be exactly the same way. So please know you will be not inconvenienced at all on the day when the solar wind, like flows like a giant tsunami into our world. You'll be like, hooray, I am ready for this. I've been taking Aurora's classes. I've been doing Aurora's dance routines, and I'm ready for this. Okay. But then think about those who have not been preparing themselves for self-cultivation or the refinery of consciousness. It will be very inconvenient for them because they will be like, I am not ready for the test. I did not do my homework and I did not do my term paper and I am not ready for this, or like whatever, a marathon. They did not train for the marathon, but you guys have been training for the marathon. So you're absolutely quite ready for it. The information that flows to us from the sun to the earth comes from on waves of pure consciousness, some of which are not perceived by the LASCO SOHO space debris satellite system, but some of it is. But a lot of it is pure consciousness. So some of these are timelines, possibilities, and probabilities flow to us. Some of these are ideas, inspirations, and concepts of awareness. I get a lot of my ideas from my music, my artwork, visuals, and even things like making my retreats. Reminder, sign up for my retreat that's coming up on New Year's Eve in Sedona. I get inspiration from the sun to do this. When I did my comic book also, and check out my comic book, it's really good. That definitely happened from the sun. So this is me. In California, it's very sunny. So I usually do my sun gazing and absorbing sun before 10 a.m. And these are two separate activities. And I'm going to talk to you today about what sun gazing is. But just absorbing sunlight through my skin is very powerful. And also I avoid seed oils because I do also know that having the healthy, proper lipid balance in your diet is essential to be able to be in the sun and not either burn or have skin discolorations or discomforts. So you have to really know this. Your diet and what is in your body and the constitution of your body when you're in the sun has everything to do with whether the sun feels gentle, good, nourishing, positive, and supportive of life, or whether it feels harsh, overwhelming, and unsupportive, and something that you shouldn't be exposing yourself to. And this is with sun gazing and with skin absorption. You can't just be like, out of the sun for 6 months, as many people are in the winter, and then go in the sun either for sun gazing or for tanning or for your sun absorption activities and think that you can get full sun. You can't. You have to gradually increase your solar callus. And that's both with your eyes and your sun gazing and your skin. And everybody has a limit of how much they can be exposed to in terms of the pure rays of consciousness from the sun before you need to either protect yourself or get away from it because it becomes overwhelming. And you need to process the light that you've already ingested. Melanin in your skin is light in your savings bank. So when you get in the sun and you are tan and your melanocytes create melanin and it stays in the layers of your skin. That is stored up sunlight in your body. And you want to have your savings account have stored up sunlight in your body. And when you are pale from, like, when I used to live in upstate New York, I would be so pale by the end of the winter because literally it was like gray and cloudy and just terrible. And I would feel so starved for the sun that whole entire time. It's literally why I moved to California. But yeah, my skin became very white and very translucent. And then when it would be the springtime and you could finally get back out into the sun, like you should only be in the sun for like 5 minutes. Then get back indoors because you're not ready. You don't have any protection. You have to kind of work on your tan again. And then you gradually do more and more and more. And then you can be outside in the sun for several hours again. But you have to protect yourself. So this is important things for you to comprehend, that you must prepare yourself for the onslaught of the focus or laser-like intensity of consciousness, ideas, awareness, and inspiration that come from connecting to the sun, either as optical light or as consciousness. When you've been separated from the sun from winter time, that's one thing. What about when you've been separated from the sun by your verbalized talking mind that might have been implanted in your when you were like 2 years old, and then it's been babbling away in your brain for like several decades? That's longer than 6 months in an upstate New York winter. And then when you reconnect to the sun, you should also know that you should just go 5 minutes. Begin with your meditations, begin with reconnecting for a few moments at a time. You have to increase the amount of time that you can be in rapport with the sun. But eventually, if you cultivated yourself, you would be able to not only be out in the physical sun all day long, like a primal human, but also connected to the sun with your mind, like a primal human. Primal humans were not stupid or unsophisticated. They were incredibly sophisticated, and they lived, or we live, with a constant connection to the sun, and that is required for survival. So when you think about what is the word for when you are when you move around a lot? I want to say itinerant indigenous, but that's not exactly the right way. But the indigenous communities that like move around a lot. You don't know where the food is. How do you know where the food is? You got to listen to the sun. And if you don't stay in rapport with the sun and find where the food and the water is, you will die. So it is really of the utmost importance to stay connected to the sun. The reason why you would be in a constant meditative state, constantly listening to the sun, so that way you could optimize your timelines and find the safety of shelter and the nourishment of food and water. And it wasn't like some kind of nail-biting thing where it's like, I have to wake up again tomorrow and find the food and water. It was a joy. The primal human lived as a joy in the sun at all times. The primal human, to go back to the question of, did the ancients worship the sun and were they idiots? They were not idiots. And they worshiped the sun in the same way that you can adore, a great person. They adored or adore the sun as a respect for the great organism that gives us everything, that organizes us and feeds us. And that organism was looked at and revered as so powerful and so perfect that listening to anything else or anything that is lesser would be considered a very silly proposal, like bait and switch. Like, why in the world would I not want to listen to the smartest brain? Why would I want to listen to a not smart brain or a half smart brain? And that is modern humans, the non-primal human that is listening to the rational mind, the technological mind, the non-smart brain or the half-smart brain, while meanwhile the fountain of wisdom and the epicenter of consciousness and true divine intelligence and organized principles is right there, shining in the sky, and humans are ignoring it. But then also we have to talk about the sun simulator beyond the James Webb Telescope and lenses and various arrays, either overt or secretive, that are being used to hide and cloak things that are in the sky. There's also some false form of illumination, a false form of brilliance that I actually think is only in low Earth orbit. But if this is the sun here, comes in front of the sun and pretends to be the sun and is more like an LED light bulb. So I call it the sun simulator. And again, I speak fictionally here, and the platform will allow me to share these things. But in this fictional world, I've noticed this for at least the past 14 years, and it doesn't always line up perfectly. So that's why sometimes there are pictures that are at an angle because you're able to see, it looks like there are two light sources in the sky. So it's in orbit, but it doesn't always sync up perfectly. And then sometimes people manage to catch snapshots of it where it looks like there's two suns in the sky. But then these are often explained away as lens flares and other things like that. So that's why if you want to know, like, can we listen to the Soho Lasco stuff? No, but also like there's all of these personal photos that people put up on websites and huge discussions, and people would be like, look, two suns and there's Nibiru and this is the red Kachina. And then people are like, no, it is only a lens flare. And then you'll find like 200 comments. So the answer is it's incredibly difficult to have a genuine conversation about these things, and even to compare what our five senses are perceiving. And we are not perceiving things accurately in the sky, and you really have to use your own intuitive skepticism and refinery to be able to know what is real and know what is true. As an otherworldly being, I can just break for a moment to decry how mind-blowingly bizarre that is. Because the whole reason why this system was created in the way that it is that it's an unhackable system. So that's like you could find truthful information and basically transcend the matrix or, limitation factors, or you could arise no matter what. Like the information is everywhere. It's imprinted or lithographically imprinted, like on the structure of matter, the flow of water, the structure of water, your brain, your DNA. Like it's, what people call sacred geometry. It's like the mathematical perfection of divine intelligence is imprinted in the very matter of the fabric of reality, and you find it everywhere. And also it's speaking to you at all times, from like the giant glowing object during the day and all of these pinpoints of brilliance at night. And still this evil thing, whatever it is, has found some way to be able to like put an imposter brilliant object in the sky, put a lot of sparkling chemtrail fairy dust in the sky so you can't see things effectively, and block out the signal from the other beautiful stellar band members in the symphony, blocking out the information that comes from the stars. Like when even here in Ojai is a dark skies place, meaning like they don't like light pollution. So you can see the stars at night, right? But even here where I live, I don't see all of the stars. I'm not getting all of the notes of the symphony. I only hear a few notes, and I appreciate them. And I'm like, oh, those are beautiful notes. But I know that there's a whole symphony that is being played that I am not receiving. And actually, nothing bothers me more. I am totally an audio perfectionist. I'm an audiophile. So when I listen, with either my headphones or a stereo system, and if one of the speakers isn't working properly, and it's like, oh, like how come I don't hear the harmony in my right ear of this song that I know effectively? I'm like, there's supposed to be something there and I'm not hearing it. I am very annoyed. I'm like, I know I should be hearing the harmony of that chorus right there. Why am I not hearing it? And it's because there's, a faulty wire or some balance it needs to be corrected. So of course I'm very, very annoyed when I look up at the night sky and I'm like, why am I not hearing the minor chords? And I'm only seeing 5 stars and I'm not getting all the information that I should be getting. I am very annoyed. Thank you. I'm organizing my thoughts here. So the most important place in your body is this place. Let me just do this for privacy's sake. So this area right over here, where your indigo chakra and your violet chakra come together, that is a place that is right where your spine. So let's say this is your spine and it kind of comes up like this. And then this is your skull, right? I'm kind of drawing like the most bizarre skull in the world, but it kind of goes like that. So there's this area right over here with your physical anatomy where there's like a little bone. It's called your atlas bone, interestingly enough. And your skull, it's like a little pivot. So this is energetic anatomy. These are energy vortexes, and they are very, very close to where that little atlas bone is at the very, very top of your neck. And this is important because now we're going to talk about the activity of actual sun gazing. But when you do sun gazing, you have energy. Let me just get a different color that comes up from the earth or from the world of matter. And when you envision that energy pathway, you're envisioning it as coming from your pelvis upward towards your pineal gland. But then also you have energy that is coming from the higher dimensional, less dense realms up here and coming into you from the world of pure light. So this magical thing that happens at the center of your mind is a blending of two viewpoints or two realities or two energy vectors, one of which comes from the world of flesh, cellular, physical, rocky planet, matter, and one of which comes from the world of light, of pure consciousness, the sun and the stars. And they both arrive into the epicenter of your mind and blend together in order to nourish you and give you your viewpoint of reality. That is what sun gazing is. So when you sun gaze, let's draw the sun. So you've got the sun over here and it emits light. And let's say here's light, here's a beam of light, and the beam of light is going like this. And then what you have to do is create your tendril of attention. So here's your tendril of attention that reaches outward from this blue vortex, and it kind of goes like this around the light. It is a partnership. So when I do just getting tan, I just lay out in the sun. And I was telling you, it's where I got my ideas from my comic book. I'm like, I'm out in the sun, I'm drinking my coffee, getting some good sunlight on my body. And I just got these ideas because I was like thinking about all the things that I've been through with my various different battles. And I was like, well, that would be really funny if I wrote that as a comic book. And I was like, I should write that as a comic book. This is what I'm talking about. This is what the experience feels like because you are self talking to self. I am the sun and I am Aurora. And I was in a moment of introspection, thinking about my life as Aurora and being illuminated by the sun. And the sun was like, yeah, self, you should really write a funny comic book all about that experience that I experienced. And then I did. And then I sent it out to you guys. And then you guys, as the sun, read and experienced the inspirational, end result of what the sun and this form of the sun called Aurora created in order to share with you. You are all the sun. I am the sun, and the sun is the sun. It is the ultimate of levels of embracing sophisticated truth to recognize that. You are not unevolved primal human, like, an animal skin wearing a Flintstone, some unevolved Flintstone barefoot person eating giant brontosaurus ribs and thinking that the sun is alive. How silly. When we all know the sun is a dead nuclear furnace. This is like the modern scientific technologist. But no, you are all modern primal humans who are decolonizing your physical bodies, taking away the projections and limitations of living in a civilized world and restoring your natural cellular structures and energetic pathways to the point that you can actually reclaim your identity as true humans and connect with the sun all the time in order to receive nourishment and guidance and sustenance and to stay alive. Okay? So let's talk about what sun gazing is. It is an action, actually a little bit more active and focused than just laying in the sun and sunbathing. So when you do sun gazing, you are going to sit in a posture similar to this. If you can't sit comfortably with your legs folded underneath you like a pretzel, sit in a chair, or you can stand. But key point is having your spine erect. And key point is facing or addressing the sun. Sun should be in front of you so that way your tendril of awareness reaches out to the sun and you absorb it through here. So wait, I'll go and I'm wearing a skirt, so it's not like that sensible for me to sit down on the floor and show you my usual way of doing sun gazing. But something, when I wake up in the morning and first thing is I do go, oh, my silly thing, hold on. My batteries are not batterying. Hold on, I have to jump off in order to turn this on. Sorry. Hold on 1 minute, press a button, get this thing going. Here is the recipe to do sun gaze. The first thing is place your tongue on the roof of your mouth. That is important because there is a connection made from your throat chakra to your area of insight when you do that. And you can experiment on placing your tongue either more forward towards your teeth or further back towards your palate. As a genetic curiosity, not everybody has the same tongue what is it when you have flexibility or dexterity, wiggliness. Not everybody can do the same things with their tongue. So some people are really good. They can kind of like fold their tongue, make like ripples with their tongue. Some people cannot do that. And it's 100% genetic. So just love your body, do what's comfortable for your body, but make that connection. And it is also important to be nonverbal. So you're not going to be talking, you're flapping of your moving mouth parts, and you're not going to be talking up here or at the level of intellect in your solar plexus. All right. The procedure for sun gazing. So when I wake up in the morning, before I put on my contact lenses, which I have to wear to be able to see. So before you put on any glasses or contact lenses, I go outside. So also try to, but if it's very cold outside, do it through your windows. You don't have to get frozen. But I go outside on my little front steps over here. And I am on the second floor, but I don't always walk down to the first floor. But the key point is to imagine and envision that you have a connection from the base of your spine to the planet, because you are getting energy from the planet and the world of matter and the world of physicality. And you are also getting energy from the sun and the stars and the world of pure consciousness. So the first thing is your anchor or your root system, like a plant. Plants have a taproot that goes down into the earth. Every single plant has an energy root that actually goes into the core of earth. So even if you have a plant that is like in a little, like, whatever, like in a little like container like this, and the root is really only 2 inches long, but it has an energy root that can be miles long that goes down to the core of earth. And this is why plants actually thrive a lot better when they're not in containers, when they're actually in the soil, because their taproot can go all the way down. And then there's the energy line that goes all the way to the core of earth. But of course, like when you have stuff, I always do container gardens because we have gophers, which will eat all of these wonderful roots. And that's why everything will die. So container gardens sometimes necessary. You envision that you have a similar root that goes all the way down to the core of Earth. It is analogous to the core of matter, which would be at the center of every single piece of matter or atom, or at the center of every single one of the nuclei of your cells. So the envisionment for your mind is epicenter, center of the planet, center of an atom, center of your cells, deepest inner level. You get energy from there because that's an infinity point or a singularity, doorway to infinity. All right. You also get energy from the complement, which is the world of pure light, the sun, the stars, the world of plasma, or the world of hyper-energized, hyper-organized matter, to the point that it straddles the definition of what we would define as matter. It's really not matter anymore. It is a world of pure energy. So the sun is made of plasma, and plasma is a form of matter that is almost on the threshold of not being matter anymore. Plasma is superheated gas to the point where the atoms and molecules that make up the gas are no longer wedded and bonded to their electrons. I joke about this, and this is in Path of Light, but some of these electrons become liberated. Like, when they talk about liberated women, they're like, I'm liberated. I date whomever I want. I go all over town. Well, these electrons are similarly liberated electrons. They don't just go and marry one guy. They go all over, and they can go with anyone. They can go in all of these different pairings and relationships with greater levels of freedom. So I'm not calling them slutty hoes or anything like that, but they can have a lot more freedom of how they behave than something that is married or bonded only to one molecular partner, right? So plasmas are extremely energetic and have these liberated electrons that can carry electricity. So one example of a plasma is, I'm looking to see if I have a cigarette lighter over here. I don't smoke, so I don't have anything, but to light a candle or whatever. But if I could, a candle's flame, that is plasma. And it is actually a conductive substance that, if you thought of my hand as like a plasma, a candle's flame, you can have electricity flows like out of a wire and then hits the flame. And then the flame conducts the electricity to the other side, and then it jumps to the next wire. It's for real. This is magical, magical stuff. Yes. So plasmas are an amazing state or form of matter. And this is the higher levels of the spectrum. So you have the lower levels of density and densification, and the higher levels of becoming less dense. And then there's you in the middle. And when you do sun gazing, what you're doing is drawing energy from both of these two complementary directions, combining them or synthesizing them inside of you into a nourishment. And then after you synthesize it into your nourishment, reflecting it back. It is a biofeedback loop. So now I go back to my little picture here, and let's draw it for you. And then I'll demonstrate it for you. So first, go this. Okay. I have to redraw that little sun. Here's the sun. Okay, so the first thing is sunlight is emitted like this. And you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and you reach out with your tendril of attention from the center of your forehead, and you connect with the sun, all right? So now let's show, where does the sunlight go? It goes into your pineal gland. So I'm making little dots to show it goes into your pineal gland. And this is light body in your physical anatomy. Then your pineal gland is kind of like a disco ball. Here, wait, I don't have an actual disco ball, but I want to kind of hold up like this crystal. I don't know if you can see it in the thumbnail here, but kind of like a big, giant, faceted crystal disco ball. And what it does is it reflects or refracts all of that amazing, beautiful light, kind of like all around, and it sends it all throughout your body to your mitochondria. So here I'm making some dots in this person's arm over here. You imagine that these are the mitochondria, and those are subcellular organelles that are found mostly in muscle tissue, but are also very, very much in the neurons of the brain and the neuron system. And your mitochondria are essential for basically translating glucose, which is physical sunlight, into ATP, which is what makes your body energetic. And so all of this light comes from the sun to your pineal gland, and then gets reflected out to the stars reflected out to the mitochondria in exactly the same way that energy in the macroscopic world comes from the galactic center to the sun. That was supposed to be an arrow over here, to the sun, and then from the sun to you. All right. So the galactic center, sun, you. And then here's the analogy. Pineal gland is galactic center to mitochondria, which are miniature suns to rest of the body, which is you. These are patterns and templates that you will see reflected fractally throughout the organization of different scales of reality. So now I'm going to erase these little dots, and now we're going to work with the esoteric energy pattern. And I'll just use white in order to show where this energy comes from. From the sun, through your pineal gland, which is the connection of your violet chakra and your indigo chakra to here, okay? To this spot right here, okay? So it actually swirls. We're looking at a swirl that swirls inward to there. And then from there, where does it go? It swirls around through your throat. Then it swirls through your heart. Then it swirls through your intellect. Then it swirls through your emotions. And then it swirls through your root chakra. And that's not the end of the swirlage. That's the one direction of swirling from the sun to your physical body. Then you send that energy from your physical body back through your emotional body, back through your intellectual body, back through your heart, through your authenticity, and through your insight, and through your DNA and your connection to the above, back to the sun. Okay? So, of course, there are many, many layers in that journey, but the simplified journey is from, here's the galactic center to the sun, and then from the sun to you, swirling through you. And then that is not the end of the journey. From you, swirling back upward, and then back to the sun. That last part, where you swirl upward and go back to the sun, that's one of the most important things to comprehend. The error in human expectations has been that you, like a baby bird, sit here with your mouth open, and then the sun just puts stuff into you. Like, here's some worms. Like, I'm a mother bird. I'm like, I just got some nice fresh worms. Like, here, eat some worms. And the little baby birds are like, yum, delicious. No, that's the old way of looking at things. That it's silly to worship the sun, and the sun, it is unidirectionally showering you and gifting you with tons of energy, and that's it. You're just supposed to take that energy and then you're done. No, you are supposed to take that energy and internalize it, and then reflect back or send it back. And you send it back as a cognitive event. This is the act of sun gazing. Sending back that cognitive event is the rapport with the sun, so that the sun is actually receiving the information of what it is like to look out through your eyes and experience life through your first person viewpoint. And then in receiving back that information, the sun can fine tune, fix, and improve the reality structures that it is upholding and creating for you. So every morning when I get up and I do my sun gazing, I'm pretty much talking to the sun, and I'm saying, hi, I'm a piece of you, and I'm Aurora, and here's what's going on in my life. And the sun is like, thanks for telling me who you are and what the F is going on with you. Here's a bunch of light codes or directives for what you're going to be doing today. And I'm like a baby bird. I'm like, yum. Give me worms. That was so yummy. Thank you, sun. And then what I do is send back my experience of receiving that directive. And I do that in the moment of sun gazing, but I do that throughout my whole day. I am trying to be connected to the sun throughout my whole entire day, to greater or lesser extents, because I will tell you, I have to do things that disconnect me from the sun a lot. And sometimes those things are verbal or typing or having to do my taxes, because I just had to do my taxes. Because I always do that thing where like you defer, where like, I'm going to just write this piece of paper to the government and see if we still have a government by October 15th. And we still had a government, so I still had to do my taxes. But I had to do that yesterday. So I was like, oh God, like I'm definitely not connecting to the sun. I'm like doing all this painful, tedious calculations and trying to comprehend this, silly booklet and PDF manual and all this type of stuff. So to synopsize, certain activities connect you to the sun. Activities that make your heart sing. Those are activities that connect to the sun, because literally when your heart is singing, that means that you are optimizing the fluid dynamics of the four chambers of your heart. I don't know if you've ever seen waves on the ocean, but I live very close to the ocean. And there's these waves that are called a rip curl, that at a certain time it goes like this, and then it goes like this. And there's like this perfect little area in there, like perfect little empty space. That is a perfect example of vortex fluid dynamics. And when your heart is healthy and your emotions are in balance, your heart sings. You have all these perfect rip curls in your heart. And you feel like, oh, this is awesome. I could go for forever. So like when I'm doing something like one of these, like art projects, I'm like so happy. I'm like cutting, gluing, listening to music, doing fun things, watching educational videos. I'm like, I could do this all day. And I'm totally in my solar presence, connecting to the sun. And the sun is living through my senses and is like, that's a piece of me down there named Aurora. And she's really having so much fun cutting out shapes with scissors, which I do have so much fun with that. But then there was yesterday where I had to do all of my silly tax stuff, and my brain was melting. And the sun was like, this is weird. I'm not hearing anything from Aurora. I guess she's not doing anything very fun or fulfilling down there. And it was true. And then I did do my sun gazing at night. And I'm like, okay, sun, here's what I had to go through today. Stupid taxes. And the sun was like, oh, that's what was going on today. So all comedy aside, there are some activities that are antithetical to connecting with the sun. And a lot of them are activities that are silly, bureaucratic, human-centered world values, and you have to do them. I told you also about phone prompts with the bank. If you want this, press 1. If you want this, press 2. And if you want this, press 17. And if you want this, press 327. And with all those things, I'm just like, operator, just like, take me to the operator. I'm dying. I'm dying. Can you take me to the operator, please? But every single one of the minutes spent on those prompts drains my stellar connection. And then afterwards, I'm just like, operator. And I finish the phone call or whatever. And they're like, I need sunlight now. And I get outside and like try to get my momentum going again. So this is a very, very real issue, that some activities decrease the momentum of your consciousness and of your light body. And some activities increase the momentum of your consciousness and of your light body. The primal human did not have to deal with one's Geico bill. The primal human walked around all day naked in the sun and found food and water by following the inner directive, and did not have to talk on the phone to a customer service representative. The primal human did not have to ever do password recovery, which was so disheartening that they literally wished to pass on and leave this earthly realm. No, that's that was draining my friend's life force energy. She was experiencing that. No. So ideally, we would all follow our primal directives and live a long, healthy life, but that would be a very non-technological life. And I think that that is what's described. I'm not a biblical literalist, but when the description in the Old Testament of people that lived for hundreds or almost thousands of years, I think that they lived that type of life. I think that in order to live an extremely long life, or what I recall in existence in Atlantis, that it was a very different quality of life that did not involve phone prompts, which is why I'm so allergic to them. And I'm always like, I could be immortal if I didn't have to deal with this stupid phone prompt. I know. Like if you were ascended, if you lived here, you'd be ascended by now, right? A silly billboard joke. Okay, let me hydrate a little bit more. And if you hear noises in the background, it's cheeky. It's playing with her toy and she's doing great. I need to demo how we do our sun gazing, okay? So, of course, I don't verbalize when I sun gaze, but to tell you about it, I'm going to verbalize. So I don't usually narrate. What I do is sit or stand in a relaxed way so that my spine is erect, put my tongue on the roof of my mouth, and then what I do is an energetic motion with my willpower that is a drawing inward. From my pelvis and my legs, I draw energy upward and inward from the earth. Imagine whatever, something that comes like, a well or like the energy of sap of trees that comes from the roots up into my heart. And at the same time, while I address the sun, I draw energy inward through my forehead and into that place where my skull and my spine come together. When I address the sun, sometimes I look at the sun with my eyesight, but sometimes I squint so that I'm only looking through my eyelashes. Sometimes I wear my magical sun gazing they live glasses, which I made out of my IBA paper because it blocks out a lot of the 5G illusions. And then I can actually sun gaze again because it's been very difficult to sun gaze with the sun simulator. Years ago, my usual thing to sun gaze would be either wearing a hat with a brim that was kind of like loosely woven straw or lacy curtains when it's wintertime if you don't want to go outside or whatever. Or perfect is sun gazing through trees. And that's what I do here. So where the sun comes up over the horizon here in my garden yard, there is a tree. And so there's the beautiful foliage of the tree going like this while the sun is rising behind it. That is optimum because we need to have a filter. The filter is the lens of your pineal gland and your Christ consciousness protective force field. But the protective lens is also Earth's stratosphere and the protective force fields of the plants that the light is filtering through. So these are all Christ. Let's say them again. Earth's higher atmosphere, the stratosphere. Plants' protective force fields. Your own energy protective lens. Your own protective force field that prevents you from being overwhelmed by excessive light, which also includes melanin. And melanin, again, is the brown pigment, and my eyes are brown. There are brown pigments in my eyes that help to absorb light. I am efforting when I absorb light. So to contrast, when I do sunbathing, I just kind of lay out in the sun, like, oh, like I'm so relaxed and so luxurious. And I, whatever, lay down horizontally and just let the sun flow on my skin. It feels wonderful. But sun gazing is like eating. It is an active thing that you do. Like when you eat, like you actively chew and swallow. So when you are sun gazing, you are actively absorbing light. And you absorb not only through optical light through your physical eyes, but also non-optical light through your mind. And that is what matters the most. So let's say, can a person with no visual sight sun gaze? And the answer is yes, because you are receiving more than optical light. You are receiving consciousness light. Can you sun gaze and receive optical light at night when the sun is not in the sky? Yes. Can you receive and sun gaze for consciousness light when there's not light, like on a cloudy day? Answer is yes. And I had to do that. So when I lived in Northern California, so first I came from Woodstock, where it was like very gray and cloudy from November to March. And that was not ideal for me as a light eater. And I moved myself to Northern California, where then I got better sunlight throughout the whole entire year. However, it is famously cloudy up there. It's like rainy a lot of the time. And there were some times when it would rain every day for like 6 weeks in a row. And during that time, I felt like my light body was really hungry. And I had to learn somehow to sun gaze and reach with my tendril of attention through the clouds, beyond the clouds. Have you ever been in an airplane where the layer of the clouds is here and you go up in the airplane and you burst through the clouds and then you're up here and you're like, wow, it's perfectly sunny up here. Get out my bikini. Everything's great up here. And then you have to land and you go back down through the clouds and then it's all gross and rainy again. That is what I had to learn how to do, to project my mind or to reach up above the clouds to be able to receive the light. And now we have not only chemtrail sparkles, but also many other inhibitory frequencies that make it very difficult to reach up above the clouds. Because that my tendril reaching up above the clouds, it is very much disheveled by the different frequency assaults, like the um stuff. Sorry, I'm not organized today with my negative information. Um, this type of stuff definitely makes it a lot harder for me to sun gaze. And I told you all about my misadventures in San Diego. It's literally right on the beach, and I couldn't sun gaze effectively because of the inhibitory frequencies that made it very difficult for me to reach out with my tendril of attention and to actually connect with the sun. Okay. So and also I have a beautiful video that's called Sun Gazing on a Spring Morning. That is part of the curriculum for this class that I recorded in Woodstock more than 10 years ago. And you can watch that video because it's a very pure moment where it's kind of like before we have a lot of the technological inhibitions between ourselves connecting with the sun. And I remember what it felt like to me at that time of my life. I could connect with the sun very easily and very casually, and there were very few inhibitions. And did I forget to comment today in how much I despise Elon Musk and his stupid Starlink satellite system? Because if I haven't said that today, I need to scream that from the rooftops. Elon Musk, I don't like you, and your 5G emitting Starlink satellite system is a consciousness reduction nightmare force field that I do not consent to and that needs to be removed from the atmosphere immediately. There. I said it, and I actually have a lot more energy for ranting against him and that system than I even, jokingly portrayed to you here. But yeah, no, there's a reason why that original recording is so poignant to me, because it is from a time before they created the 5G containment force field that's known as Starlink. The satellites have made it very, very difficult for anybody who's living on this planet to reach up and out and connect with the sun and the stars. The satellites are not for the convenience of telecommunications. They are for the convenience of consciousness reduction. And it takes an absolute expert black belt of consciousness to be able to make any level of solar and stellar connection these days. So please know that. And the information that I give to you, of course, is from a finer time, but we will return to that time. And it's absolutely worth it to do everything you can to sun gaze, even amidst non-ideal circumstances. Because even if you're starving, even like a few calories is going to have a huge impact on you. And if you're really starved for inspiration and cellular renewal, even just a little bit of light is really going to have a positive impact. So keep up with your efforts. Here's how you do sun gazing. You address the sun, connect to the earth, connect to pure matter on an internal level, and draw that energy upward from earth. But then also you send out your tendril of attention to the sun and you start to draw energy from the sun. And that reminds me of like when you are sucking a milkshake through a straw, it's kind of like you're drawing it into you. So you have to kind of like envision it coming into you, or feel it like when you have a fishing line, like you draw it into you. And as I draw it into me, I really do feel a substance that is palpable coming into my mind, coming down my throat, coming through my heart, and then coming into here. This is my belly. This is below my navel. And that is in Asia what they call your hara or your ara. It is like a cauldron. And that's why I like to sit with my legs crossed like a pretzel, because it makes your lap kind of shaped like a bowl. And you have to envision your pelvis as a container for sunlight and for joy. And as you drink in the sun and not drain, but gather energy from the earth, you are filling up your cauldron. And the more that you bring energy into you, like a glass of water, the level of your energy starts to rise. The feelings that you feel in your body, like you might feel pleasure sensations in your pelvis, that's appropriate. So not physical stimulation of your pelvis, but non-stimulative pleasure center feelings. And that's also from connecting to the earth. Please remember and know that in ancient concurrent Atlantis, every single step that we took on the earth was orgasmic. And that is how you feel in optimum circumstances. So please don't judge yourself or project human, social, psychosexual motivations upon those sensations. You might also feel an expansion in your pelvis, like you have like a bubble of energy inside of you, a balloon that gets bigger and might be expanding your pelvis. And as you draw more energy into you, you will feel that bubble start to lift, raise up, and come all the way up to your shoulders, or the glass of water raising up. And you're eventually going to feel it come all the way up to here. And at the level of my chin, I'm going to just unbutton my little jacket here so I can kind of gesture more easily. There is a spontaneous movement that reminds me of the motion of a sunflower. Like sunflowers are follow the sun. They have like this beautiful face, kind of like follows the sun. My face is like the sunflower, and I follow the sun. At a certain point, my chin tilts up and my eyes look at my violet chakra. So let's show you this. At a certain point, spontaneously, what happens is here my nose is pointing forward, but my nose will tilt and will be pointed upward like this. And what that means is that I'm going to be looking at this vortex, this violet vortex. That is really my vortex into the next dimension, my connection to God and higher consciousness, the portal to infinity that is at the center of my DNA. That is what I end up tilting at 90-degree angles to look into and through. And when I do that, I also do something with my tendril of attention that I call a slam dunk. I have never played basketball in my life and never even really watched it, but I do know what a slam dunk is because I have seen pictures of Michael Jordan when he does this. So he kind of goes like up, 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 jumps up above the basket, and then smooshes the basketball through the basketball hoop. And that is what you do with your tendril of attention when you are sending the energy back to the sun. So you absorb, ingest, energy comes to you, yum, 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 full, 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 filling you up, filling you up, filling you up. And then critically, when it gets up to here, your chin will tilt up. And that's kind of like when Michael Jordan's catching some air. And then your tendril will reach the sun and go kapow. Here's all my energy, slam dunk. All right. So let me kind of like, I'm balanced on my treadmill here so that I will not. You should stand in a way that is safe and don't try to sun gaze while you're walking on a treadmill. I don't think that's safe. All right. So actually, to tell the truth, the sun is all the way over there. So if I was doing this properly, I would be doing it towards the sun over there. Well, how about I see if I can stand sideways to do this? I'm going to do that. Okay. So here I am, right? First, I'm drawing that energy into me and I'm narrating it, but you have to imagine that I have my tongue on the roof of my mouth, drawing that energy into me, drawing it from the earth and from the sun. And of course, I usually would do this outside, but I am expert enough to be able to sun gaze through a cinder block wall if necessary. As I'm drawing that energy into me, I'm also feeling that expanding bubble come up, up, up. Okay, so here I am through my heart. And I'll do this over a couple of moments, like sucking in more of the beautiful solar milkshake. And then I get to this point. Here's what I'm talking about. So here, my chin tilts up. And then there's the slam dunk. So it's like my chin tilts up, 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 slam dunk. Slam dunk with my tendril of attention. And then sometimes I'm still hungry and I want another serving. This is like Thanksgiving. It's like, did you have enough? Do you want to have some more mashed potatoes? I'm like, yeah, I'm hungry. I want more. And you do as much as you need to until you are satisfied, fulfilled, or satiated, or until you're busy and you have to go get going and do the next thing in your life. And so what does that feel like also? Because usually what happens is I'm sun gazing and I get a sense of like fulfillment, or sometimes I have an aha moment. So the past 5 years aside, because it's been such a distorted time, but sometimes I would be like, oh, like I would sun gaze go outside, like outside of my studio and would start sun gaze. And then I would be like, oh, wow, I just got the best idea. I would run inside to my sketchbook and I would be like, I have to draw this right now. Like I would get so many immediate and very directives, like either an image of something that I had to draw or explore or know about. And also, when I was originally developing the curriculum that I'm sharing with you here in this class, I got it all from sun gazing. I would literally wake up each day, get myself together, go outside, sun gaze, get my directives for the curriculum of this class, and then be like, okay, level 1, lesson 11, this is what I'm talking about today. And then translate everything that I had gotten non-verbally and energetically from the sun into whiteboards that I share with you here today. Okay. So this is a magical superpower that we all have. The ability to sun gaze is actually not a psychic power that is limited to only a few people, like whether you're clairaudient or clairvoyant or, what are your acrobatics that you can do with your mind. Everybody should be able to do this. It's like the ability to eat food with your physical mouth. Food goes in here and then it goes in my tummy here. And you need to do that for life. So right now I'm a hybrid, like a hybrid car, like a Prius or whatever, one of those types of cars that you can put gasoline in it, and also you can run it on an electrical charge. My body is the same way. When I first came here, I tried to do nothing but sun gazing. This was in the first few days of my walking in here. And I didn't know that you couldn't run these bodies, without additional matter or dense food going inside of it. And I was trying to do just sun gazing. And I didn't understand why I had this feeling inside that I would describe as empty ow. And I had to learn. Food goes in here. Can't just do light in here. You guys are the opposite. You learned when you were little tiny babies, food goes in here. And then you learned how to eat and how to not throw up and how to poop and all those important things. But nobody taught you how to do your sun gazing. And so I am here in order to teach you how to do your sun gazing, but also helpfully transition you into being a hybrid where you're doing both things, feed your light body with light and your physical body with matter. And then at a certain point, you have accumulated enough energy and momentum to exist 100% at the level of light or at the level of plasma. And when you take my class of Path of Light class, my class of light, my Path of Light class, you learn all about the stages of matter from the Bose-Einstein condensate all the way up through solid, liquid, gas, and plasma, and then all the way up into being a beam. And you recognize that you are a form of matter that is gaining additional levels of organizational presence with the greater levels of energy and information that you ingest. Then you turn into plasma and then you turn into a beam of light. That's, spoiler alert, you become the sun. You become the sun and the stars and you reconnect with all of that. So being disconnected from your own body presence, from your own stellar family, from your own coherent family of light, from your own brain, these things that are technological stuff that is not healthy and good stuff here has been disconnecting us as light beings from our own light presence, from our own light body. That is why I do not like Mr. Elon Musk at all. That is not fair for him to disconnect me from my own light body through his gross satellite system. Sun gazing is, not unidirectional, it's multidirectional. And you not only receive directives from the sun, but you also speak your requests to the sun. And believe me, I talk to the sun all the time and I'm like, hey, some stupid idiot named Elon Musk is putting up all these Starlink sky poops. Can you please help us? That is slam dunk. You understand? So some of what we're doing is communicating our desires and requirements for optimized life. Refinery of consciousness, refinery of timelines. We're in the dream of the sun. And somehow the sun dreamed up this stupid guy named Elon Musk who pooped out a bunch of satellites that are making it very hard for me to hear the sun. And I'm talking to the sun and I'm like, do you think you can do something about this character within your own dream who's doing such naughty things to the atmosphere and the Christ consciousness of this planet? The sun needs to know about it, definitely. And also I've had a lot of disappointment with my communications with the sun because I'm sometimes like, cosmic complaints department, like things are not going very well down here. You think you want to do something about it? And the answer was nothing happened. Then sometimes I'm like, well, I cannot wait any longer. I am going to have to fly Rainbow Lasagna and do something, not wait around for the sun. And that was actually pretty much my trajectory post 2021 of how I needed to do all this stuff. The offshoot of this is to comprehend that when you are sun gazing, you are in a collaborative and co-creative love-making or generative process with the sun. The sun is yourself. The sun is representative of a higher level of perfected consciousness, but the sun is not infallible and the sun is not omniscient. So when we talk about the religious ideation of the Son of God, the words omnipotent, omniscient, and infallible are applied. And that is very disappointing when you're talking with the son, who is an artist that is still figuring things out, and life is a work in progress. So if you were to come to my art studio here, you would find a lot of works in progress. And I'm a good person, all right? I'm not evil in any way. Some of these art projects are like, they're not finished and they don't look that good. And if you judged me on them, you'd be like, Aurora, like, this is very effed up over here. I'd be like, I know, I'm working on it. Okay, I'm a good person. I'm working on it. I think you have to kind of look at the sun in the same way. I don't think that our sun star is evil. I think that it is good, it is divine, it is benevolent. And I think that our reality that we are inhabiting here is a work in progress. And I think that we are suffering tremendously under Elon Musk and many other very benighted and idiotic people that are here in this world. I think that we have to be participant in improving the structure of reality. So far from taking our hands off of the wheel of life and saying, Jesus, take the wheel, or somebody up there, out there, you do it, you fix it, you exert your willpower, I will exert zero willpower. I think that we have to exert our willpower. And we also have to recognize that we're within a larger system that has its own identity, ego, momentum, and levels of willpower. And ideally, with sun gazing, what we're doing is meshing in a complementary way your own personal individuated willpower and the willpower of the larger system that you live within. Like there's, whatever, the stars that originally pooped out all this gold and created these heavy elements, you're within their dream. And you could be like, I am not impressed. Your dream is very screwed up. My life is bad. But you can also be like, let's work together. Be like, wow, like this is kind of a screwed up dream. There's all of these evil things and stuff that shouldn't be here. Instead of me just like shaking my fist at you and saying like you screwed up and you should have dreamed a better dream, be like, can we fix it? Can we make it better? I believe in that. And that is why I'm flying Rainbow Lasagna, because I'm all about looking at ways to fix and improve the system, because I know what the original vision of the system and structure of architecture of reality was supposed to be like. This ain't it, kid. So I'm very much like, yeah, like it ain't perfect and it needs to be fixed up. And if the sun ain't going to do it, I'm going to do it. But also you should have partnership and collaboration between you and the sun, because it is the sun's responsibility to do this. So not 100% the sun take the wheel, I do nothing, but also not 100% you do it all on your own, because the sun is a contributor. Partnership. What you really need to do is a restoration of the balanced partnership between yourself and the sun. And that also responds to the earth and the sun having a beautiful balanced partnership. Can't see that painting that perfectly, but that's what that painting is about. You have the earth splitting apart virtually to reveal the flying rainbow lasagna. The earth's toroidal energy field turns into flying rainbow lasagna. And all of this is on the backdrop, or with the connection to the sun and the sun's solar disk, or the consciousness milieu, or playing field of the sun. So flying rainbow lasagna is happening on this planet. This planet is a consciousness art project of the sun. Therefore, flying rainbow lasagna is happening within the mind or the dream of the sun. The sun is like, the world is pretty screwed up. What if I dreamed into existence something? Let me grab the lasagna. It's over here. Something that can fix things. What if I dreamed into existence something that could fix things, like a lasagna? The cosmos augments itself by necessity. It wasn't just the sun dreaming up or envisioning or imagining the spontaneous creation of lasagna as a solution to what needed to be improved and ameliorated. It's the whole reality structure. Everything in the cosmos is like, stuff is imperiled, things are not going well, we must change trajectory if we want to keep on existing. I'm going to have to do something. Time to invent lasagna. And I, at the same moment, was like, if I don't do something, I'm not going to exist either. I'd better lasagna. And I also could see the imperilment of the entirety. So I'm like, time to lasagna. So that's such bad words, but I hope that you kind of got the telepathy of it. Shells of consciousness, all fractals of reality, all having the similar realizations at the same time. Like, do something, innovate now, or you're not going to still be around to be able to do these things. So your moments of eating physical food are times of rapport with the sun and powerful times for reality creation. Treat your meals as sacred, your physical food, because that is part of how you create and generate a better world. Your times of sun gazing are also sacred. They are powerful moments when you can generate a better world. Sometimes I talk to the sun, I don't want to say verbally, but like, I have a laundry list. Like, I need 1 of these, 5 of these, 10 of these, and less of this. You know what I mean? Like, I need stuff to change, and here's the specifics. But I don't say it with words, but I do speak to it in that sense, like how reality needs to be changed and shifted. And sometimes I just do abstract energy work with the sun. But the sun has to always be receptive to the information that you bring as a first person experiencer. Please don't think about it as the dynamic of like a boss versus an employee, like the sun is the boss and you're just an employee, or a king and a peasant, because those are non-healthy power dynamics that are top-down pyramid-shaped hierarchies. And the sun is different. The sun has a rapport with you where you are reciprocal equals, even though you have different levels of awareness and different levels of responsibility, but you are equals, and you have to collaborate and work together. So it's not enough to simply dump your cares and concerns to the sun and then be like, blah, blah, blah is wrong, fix it. You have to be like, blah, blah, blah is wrong. We need to fix it together. Got it? And it's also, so it wouldn't be correct if all the responsibility fell on your shoulders. It wouldn't be correct to reject the responsibility and put it all on the sun's shoulders. Collaborate. That's the answer. And when you move into those levels of embodiment of your light body, as you have accelerated from being a materialist physicality presence, that is when you really become empowered in the collaboration. And also your identity is one of your identity is that of a person who is 100% collaborative with the sun. So what does that mean? You're not looking at the sun as if it is something or someone separate from you. It is absolutely someone who is internal. And that is in energetic development on the path of ascension. That is the awakening of the inner sun inside of you. And when you have that, you have your spinal cord with that funny, like, little bone at the top of it, and then your skull on the top of there. And that area becomes the sun inside of your own body. And it's not just an analogy, like a sun, it literally is the sun. So right now you think of it as like there's something external to me and the light flows across 93 million miles and it reaches my forehead and comes inside of me. But when you achieve this level of acceleration and evolution, you realize that the light is emanating from this inner sun that is inside of you that you have built and is not 93 million miles away at all. It is inside of you. And then when you embody that truth, you're not going to use the SOHO LASCO satellites to look at what's going on with the sun. You have the sun inside of you. You can feel it. You don't have to use a satellite to know if there is a coronal mass ejection. You feel it. It's inside of you. And you're not like, oh, the sun is doing something weird today. You're like, oh, my own anatomy is having a mass ejection today. So yesterday we actually had the coronal mass ejection and it's hitting, near our planet today. That when you are at those levels of self-perception, you're like, oh, I, as the sun, emitted a bunch of energy to myself. And now I, as myself here, am receiving that energy. And inside of your own body, you will have a miniature sun that emanated that energy outward to all of your mitochondria and to all of your red blood cells in your own body. Like you recognize and you start to embody the truth that you are a microcosmic version of the entire solar system. And it's thrilling when you are that. And you definitely don't feel that you need any intermediary to define what is happening in your experience because you can feel it. Okay, so I got through most of the important things from my notes. I now want to go and answer any questions or comments or anything that you guys would like to know about. Chris says, sun is your boss. Now I got it. Yeah, absolutely. But let's again say that the sun is your boss in egalitarian workspace. Sometimes there's very strong levels of bureaucracy where it's like, I am the boss and you are my peon. I will pee on you now. Like, please shut up. And it's not like that. So, because some workspaces just like, no, just shut up. Just listen to the boss. This is a workspace where your opinion is required and respected. So, you guys have never worked for person like that. I have had very few bosses where I've worked for someone like that. But of course, I always try to be that type of a boss where, sometimes I say to someone like, I need something done, like, whatever, to take out the garbage, change the garbage can liner. But also I want someone that works for me to talk back to me and to say, oh, hey, Aurora, I'm not going to take out the garbage yet because you know why? We're at a retreat. We're about to clean up all this stuff and there's more stuff that's going in the garbage. Let me do it in an hour. And then I'm like, good thinking, person who works with me. Like, good job using your own brain. This is the essence of what we want. Engaged employees, not stupid automatons. So the people that work with me or for me, when I do things like my retreats, they know that we have a common goal, which is creating the retreat. And they know that like I am, a director, like I'm going to direct them and say, now it's time for us to do this. And now it's time for us to do this. But then everybody is also self-directed. And that was also true of the participants at all of my wonderful retreats, because one time I told you we had the sprinkler went off, the emergency of the sprinklers. Gather around, children, and I will tell you. So we were outside and we're going to do our dance on the like porch, like the deck. And it's early in the morning, and the sprinkler system at the retreat center was set off to go for like 6 o'clock in the morning. And so we're out there stretching and getting ready, and all of a sudden the sprinklers turn on and we're all getting sprinkled upon and cold and wet. We want to be like warm and dry and get the sun. And so everybody sprang into action. I didn't have to say anything. Some people were like, let's look for the control panel. And someone else got the lawn cover, the chair covers, and threw them over the sprinkler head so that would temporarily, squash the water and it wouldn't get on us. Everybody did something and we found a way to fix the problem. That is who we need to be. As inhabitants of this planet and miniature versions of the sun with our own, stellar connection, we each have to recognize that we are responsible and we're partially responsible for the things that are happening. And we need to work together in order to have an optimum experience. And that is, the biggest truth. You need to take personal responsibility for your own life and your own body and the things that are 100% within your control. And also, you need to take partial, limited responsibility for your contribution to the entirety. And when we take partial responsibility for the entirety, we work together with others in order to make the entire thing better. So if we look at the sun as the omniscient, omnipotent Son of God, it's like, you made all this, it's all your fault, and you made all these narratives, now you fix it. That is disempowering and unidirectional. And it is also like being a baby bird. Like, I just sit here with my mouth open, you shove food in my mouth, and you take care of it all. And it moves into levels of personal empowerment and growth and maturity and responsibility when you say, I'm not just a baby bird. I receive energy and information from the sun, but I also emit energy and intelligence back to the sun. What is it like when you're an employee that has good ideas? I have been that employee. I told you I'm telepathic, and I worked for one boss, and I didn't say it with my mouth. We were putting up the shelving for displays, and he was doing it all wrong. In my mind, I was thinking, "You're doing it all wrong." And he looked at me and he was like, "I heard that, you think very loudly." And I kind of laughed behind my hand like this because I'm like, I'm not allowed to say these things because I would get fired. But then I communicated to him what he was doing wrong. But that's the type of employee that you need, actually, not a passive employee that does not talk back and simply allows terrible mistakes to be made, but an active and an engaged employee that is using their mind and trying to do the best they can. That's who we need to be as experiencers in the world. So we are the sun's senses. We are photons as feelers. We are light beings experiencing this world of light that has been created by us and for us. And we are also responsible to our creation. We are here to experience it and to improve it. And the act of sun gazing is the act of improving it. So I think today I have falsely portrayed it as merely a receiving of information or a giving back of information, but it really is, let me hydrate, reality birth. It really is like lovemaking, a creation of a reality structure that you both give birth to. And then you nourish and parent and bring it forward. So instead of you thinking of yourself as the baby bird that someone else has to parent and feed you, you think of reality is your child. You and the sun are the parents of reality structures, and you are both giving birth to and parenting those realities to help reality to be alive and to be sustained and to grow up. This is the essence of what it is to be a light being in this world. And to contrast, when I tune in on all these, very evil people that are in the world, if you look at my comic book, you know what I'm talking about. Their agenda is not even to be a passive baby bird, requiring some larger, higher benevolent presence to give them everything that they need, but that they actually are very destructive. And they think that it is their prerogative or their directive to just be extremely destructive, go around making a big, giant mess, and that it's someone else's job to clean it up, and it's someone else's job to sustain the fabric of reality. And that is erroneous. And if you act in that way, you will not have a reality to, mistreat. They are mistreating and what is it, taking for granted the existence of reality. Reality only exists and is sustained because we sustain it. If we are passive or we expect someone else to generate and sustain it, you can have a reality. And if you're actively hostile to reality, you will not have a reality. So the very evil ones that are in our world right now, I would say, are actively hostile to reality. They're actively hostile to lasagna and to the sun and to the world of pure light. And they are, hostile to doing everything they can to destroy reality. They don't get to have a reality. And that means that they are shunting themselves onto the timelines where there is not a viable reality. They are planting the seeds of their own destruction with their generative capacity and with their connection to time and expectation of reality. But the key points are that they are not allowed to generate a catastrophe that you have to experience. If they want to generate and experience a catastrophe, that is up to their own level of experience, but you must be in a different timeline or experiencing a different narrative where that doesn't happen. So I told you that this is the process of the sun emitting and exploring various different narratives and this refinery of consciousness. Now you know what's talking about. Sorry, bad grammar. Not all narratives are equitable. Some are truthful, some are not truthful, some are factual, some are not factual, some are sustainable and viable, and some are not. And the refinery of consciousness is which consciousnesses are going to generate and sustain themselves on viable timelines, and which consciousnesses are not going to either generate viable timelines or place themselves on the timelines that are viable timelines. All of these satanic, transhumanist, evil, Roach Motel, exploitive type of, unconscious, sub and unconscious destroyers of reality. They have not been generating and sustaining reality. They don't get to have a world. When you don't generate and sustain the world, you don't get to have a world. You really do get what you make or generate in the world. And if you generate nothing, then you have nothing. And if you generate destruction, then you have destruction. And that is what they've been experiencing. But the key points for you to recognize is that you cannot share a common fate. Refinery of consciousness. They are going to go over there and experience that level of destruction, and you are going to go over here and experience something else. So you have to affirm that the real you is not self-destructive, doesn't want to go into a sense of self-extinction, and wants to grow and learn and change and evolve. And yeah, so I have so many things to say. Okay, but back over to here. Pedro has a beautiful thing to say. He says, a friend told me that the sun is an angel. I would say our description of an angel being a perfectly organized, mathematically, perfect divine emanation of God's intelligence, accurate. Like if we think of an angel as being like a mathematically perfect creature, I think that that is accurate about the sun. But then you might be like, well, Aurora, but the sun is clearly making some mistakes in the math and we have to help to fix it up or whatever. And I would say this. There are a lot of incredibly intelligent mathematicians in our world who are still exploring and defining math. You can know a lot about math and a lot about numbers, but not necessarily know the outcome of a particular equation. It's fair to say that. You're like, I know the answer to 1 + 1 = 2, but I don't know the answer to this equation. That's the sun. The sun is a very adequate, intelligent mathematician and musician, and it knows the answer to these equations, or it can play these songs over here, but then it doesn't know these equations over here. It doesn't know how to play these songs over here. It's learning and growing. It is not omniscient and omnipotent. As soon as we release those religious dogmas and unhealthy expectations, our ability to have a real relationship with the sun increases. Like instead of requiring it to be perfect and then being disappointed when it is imperfect, to be like, oh, I am the sun, I am the artist, I am exploring things, the world is a work in progress, and I am also, Aurora, a contributor towards the exploration and perfection of the world. And then that becomes a beautiful world. So you can also sense how like the religious dogma and some of this programming has been very corrosive in the sense of expecting an externalized mama bird who's going to give you all of your worms and just take care of everything. And then the disappointment if you don't get fed, and also if the world isn't perfect. And then people have a crisis. They're like, does God exist? Is any of this real? Does anybody care about me? It's like, yes, you are cared about. And God and the sun exist, but not as explained. Oh, we need to talk about ancient Egypt too. Pedro says, I don't think we are eating ourselves. We are merging different parts of us. Good way of saying it. Exactly. Quantum entanglement. And Michelangelo says, now we're talking agape love, not conditional eros or philia love. Exactly. And very, very good distinctions that you're able to make between these different levels of love. So thank you for that. Michael also says, rolling the tip of the tongue across the middle of the hard palate to the back edge, where it becomes soft. Holding it there, you will instantly activate your salivary glands, known as the water point element. All 4 elements can be activated with the tongue at the 4 points in your mouth. Great information. And I will tell you, I usually place my tongue kind of going straight up. And people have differently shaped architecture in their palate and in their mouth. So you have to figure this out. So yeah, good information there, but thank you for telling us. And Tom F says, slam dunk interpretation. Okay, the ball equals energy from the sun that you've internalized. The sun equals the hoop. And Tom is saying me, slam, kapow, here you go. And the sun is saying, got it. I love it. Very nicely done. And goes on to say, serious question. During a slam dunk, during the FRL, dance feels like a scoop. I picture the ball going fast towards the ground, and then at the last moment it is saved, scooped up, and kept in the same hand. Picture as a waiter saving the tray from falling. And says usually we transfer energy from one hand to the other during rolling through a portal. Finally, the question is, how does a slam dunk differ from a standard portal roll? Can you articulate or correct this interpretation of a slunk that has been described here? Totally. And bonus question, is the slam dunk for focusing or transmitting important information to the sun during non-optimal situations? Slam dunk is very important in terms of effectively connecting whatever, perilous or non-perilous, to the sun. When we're going through portals, sometimes what I'm doing is grabbing the blanket of time, fabric of time, and wrapping it around me like a blanket. So in the dance, sometimes this hand will come up from below and it will come like up above my head, and I will grab time and kind of pull it around me like a blanket. And while I'm doing so, I'm also contracting my spine. And of course, I'm going to go around, whirl around, and come out the other side. And then kind of like unburrito myself from the blanket, come out the other side. Sometimes so going through a portal is sometimes like that. Going through a portal is also sometimes like, all I have is a cartoon example, but like an old Bugs Bunny where he climbs to the very, very, very top of a diving platform and then he dives into like a tiny shot glass of water. That is sometimes what going through portals is like. Getting very, very fast, straight as an arrow, getting a ton of elevation, and then diving into a very tiny portal where accuracy really matters. And sometimes it is like what you're talking about, which is, I call that an underhand pitch. So I've never played either baseball or softball, but sometimes, in baseball, you're going to throw overhand pitch like this. But with softball, you're going to throw with an underhand pitch like this. So sometimes with my lasagna dance, what I do is I scoop time like this, and then I'm grabbing it underneath here like a softball pitch, and then I'm going to bring it up. And then sometimes there will be that slam dunk where it's like a motion of coming up like this, and then getting it into the target, getting it into the sun, getting it into the place where it is supposed to go. So I like how you analyze all the mechanics of my dance. There are a variety of different ways of going through portals. Another way of going through portals without even using your arm to kind of like slam dunk is to have your arms crossed or close together like this. If you ever used to do this when you would be a kid and roll down a hill like a log, like when you just keep your body straight like this or straight like this and you just roll through. So because you are doing two things. You are going through a doorway with your own body. You're doing three things. You're creating the doorway as a whirling vortex with the motion of your body, but also sometimes you are slam dunking or putting something into the sun while you're going through a doorway. So, wow, it's definitely a lot. It's like if you asked a ballerina, like what she's doing while she's pirouetting, she's like, I'm balancing on my toe, but I'm also using my knee and I'm also using my back and I'm also using my pelvis. Like we're doing a lot while we're doing the actual dance. So I want to make sure that I actually answer your question here. Oh, and the other part was transferring energy from hand to hand. So really what you're doing when you go through a portal is you have a bubble of energy that you're holding in your hand like this, like a waiter, and you're trying not to spill a drop, and you go through a portal, come out the other side, and then as you come out the other side, this is the part where you transfer from hand to hand. Coming through the portal, coming out the other side, and here. This is where I haven't spilled a drop, and then I'm going to transfer it to this hand, and then I'm going to keep going with this hand. So of course, as I'm standing here, it's a little bit difficult for you to comprehend this, but when I do my rolling on the floor, you can really see it. My arm comes up, I roll through, I transfer from hand to hand, and then I come out the other side and keep going with the other hand. And then sometimes I will then take that and then go in the opposite direction. Like sometimes you're moving forward in a figure eight and then you move backward across the same figure eight, but then sometimes you are in a different dimension when you trace the same pattern. So you're not always tracing your same footprints. Sometimes you're in a new dimension when you're making the same complementary patterns. Very difficult to talk about these things. Okay, I hope that I got those questions. Oh, Tom says personal mantra for any situation. This is a solvable problem. Very good. Very well said. And I think that it is important to have that approach and that attitude. When something seems overwhelming or when it seems impossible, then like it's just like we shut down and be like, why even try? But just telling yourself, like, there is a solution here. Let me try to work for it, figure it out, or if there's not a solution, let me invent one. That is very much my approach. So I connect with you very much to say, can I innovate a solution? Can I innovate? And to say, when I encounter challenges, non-optimal solutions, and problems, I usually think like I am here for a reason. Like I'm like, I am here for a reason, not just to kind of like throw my hands up in despair and be like, oh well, I met an immovable object. I guess I'll just give up in despair. But to be like, I think I'm here to fix this. I think I need to do something. So I also I think in those terms too, because like we definitely see a lot of screwed up things in the world and non-optimum situations here. And when I encounter that, some people go like this, like, God, like, why are you punishing me? And I don't think that. I think like, I am here on purpose. I'm on a mission. I think I'm here to fix this. So yeah, different responses and different expectations. It really is an aspect of emotional resilience. So really, this whole sharing, this live lecture for the past 3 hours can be distilled into the sense of recontextualizing the imperfect reality that we experience. Sun gazing is really encountered now as an activity of reality refinement. In Atlantis, sun gazing is not about reality refinement because our reality is perfect and optimized. Sun gazing in that level of reality is much more a seamless integration of consciousnesses and seamless constant nourishment. We have never been non-nourished in Atlantis. Like here, you're like, oh, I'm so non-nourished. I'm so empty. Ow, inside. Can I have something? And then you get something. You're like, oh, that feels better. In Atlantis, you have never been empty. Ow. You have always been connected to the sun. You have always been nourished. You have always been given everything that you need in optimum amounts, in optimum timing. So even being here in the physicality realm and a realm where you can have emptiness and feel hunger is different, and being disconnected from the sun is an aberration, but something that you have had the experience of. And now sun gazing is the reconnection to your sun self and the reactivation of the inner sun. Let's just go a little bit further. It's not part of my notes, but I have to explain more to you. Planetary ascension, personal ascension, the reactivation of the inner sun. When you accrete enough light and you get that inner sun going at the top of your own spine, everything changes in your life. Everything changes in your body because you no longer need to have an external sun to nourish you and keep you illuminated. That doesn't mean that you can just like whatever, like fly off into the void of space and be like, goodbye for forever. I don't need it. Like, screw all of you. I don't need anything. Like, F off. It means more the sense that you have your own microclimate and your needs are fulfilled through that innate internal connection. But it doesn't mean that you are rejectful of the entirety of the world. Like, everyone get away from me. Like, I need nothing from you. You need nothing from me. Some kind of whatever, supreme self-reliance and like total isolationism and non-interaction. It's very different than that. It is more a sense of total um, first of all, lack of fear. Whatever is the word for feeling completely knowing that you'll always have enough. You have enough and it is generated from within. The best analogy I'm coming up with right now is, right now in this unhealed world, many people are feeling empty inside and they look for fulfillment from a romantic or sexual partner. But then when you get really, like healed and evolved, you're not looking for your happiness by like finding Mr. or Ms. Right. You're like, I'm just happy because I'm me. That is what it's like when you activate this inner sun. You're not requiring some external thing to help you, fix you, lift you up, give you stuff. Like, you have that. You have that. So you're not like looking for Mr. or Ms. Right. Like, you have it inside of you. But that doesn't mean that you're like, I have everything I need. Goodbye for forever. Like, I will go away from you all now. It really means more like you are acting from a place of non-desperation. You're acting from a place of fulfillment. And if the only reason that you ever did anything in life was because you wanted to get something from someone else, then it's like, yeah, you're no longer motivated to get stuff. But hopefully you are motivated by more than just the need to get stuff and stay alive. That's reptilian. Hopefully you are also motivated by the ideal and the desire requirement to share and to give. And when you have the inner sun sustaining you, then it's actually like so much, so optimized to be able to give to others. Like just imagine like when you have an endless well inside of yourself, you're like, yeah, I have plenty to be able to give. Or I can give very easily. Sorry, I got moderately distracted because someone is over here and someone wants food and someone wants hugs. So let's also just do one more little hugging of someone over here. Good job. Good job. We'll give bribes and we'll take you out very, very soon. Okay, thank you for being such a good dog. And everybody in class loves you, Cheeky. Everybody loves you. You're a good dog. Okay. So yes, then you know what? Unless there are any additional questions or comments, I will soon take Cheeky for a walk. But let me also just make sure that I got everything important from my notes, which is, a better way of thinking about it when you do that slam dunk is that you are broadcasting your inner state at the moment. Instead of thinking of it like making requests, like I want one of this and 5 of these and 10 of these, you are broadcasting your truth at that moment. So I said it in my notes, but I didn't emphasize it here verbally. When you're in your moments of sun gazing, it's just like when you're in your moments of genuine sexual intercourse. You have to control your mind so that you are fantasizing about and envisioning the reality structures you actually want to conceive. If you want to conceive a child, you should be envisioning the beautiful features of your child's face, or what it's like to teach them how to bake bread, or like throw a football or something like that. Like that's what you should be envisioning, the realities you wish to conceive of. I have to give Cheeky food, but we'll be ready soon. When I do sun gazing, I don't always come to the sun with a laundry list, but what I do is have a moment of connection where my desires and what I need at that time are obviously broadcast. In fact, I broadcast my whole worldview. What I do is I connect with the sun and I like slam dunk. And what the sun gets is like, here's Aurora's perspective. Like, here's how I see it. I'm experiencing this and this and this and this. And I want 5 of these and 10 of these. And I want this to end right now. That is what it is like. Okay. So that the quality of going through a portal, when I slam dunk, what I really see it as is like the moment of planting a seed. When you plant a seed, it is an I want to say bioelectrical event. When I told you about the taproot and it goes down to the Earth's core, when you plant a seed, that is the beginning of that taproot going into Earth's core. It is an electric event to put the seed and connect it to Earth. When I slam dunk with the sun, I'm planting a seed of consciousness. And that seed contains everything that I'm passionate about, everything that's important to me, everything that I want and desire and that I want for this world. And this is why this is not a verbal, intellectual thing, because it's not like I'm talking to the sun and saying, again, like, here's my laundry list. 1, I want ice cream. 2, I want an umbrella. 3, I want world peace. All of those things come forward in the expression of my truth. So think of it like that. You make a moment of connection that is just like in a car's engine where you have the spark plugs, like the energy jumps from one side to the other. It zaps. There's a generation that happens there, a kapow. That's what happens in sun gazing. You make a connection. The spark plug, the spark jumps across the gap and energy is created. And in that moment of energy exchange, I am just blasting everything that is important to me and that I need at the sun. And the sun is also blasting and sending energy towards me too. So it's nonlinear. And also, just a few more things. Everybody's got a divine counterpart, because there's a lot of stuff here that is about who is the bride of Christ. All right. Oh my God, I have to talk about this too. So lots of people are extremely egotistical and they're like, I am going to marry Jesus, but not you, me. I'm going to marry Jesus. Jesus is going to come down in a giant, whatever, kind of sky vehicle. Maybe it's a Clank Like Little spaceship. Maybe it's whatever, a rainbow unicorn. And he's going to come up to me and he's going to say, "You're special. I want to marry you. Be Mrs. Jesus," like Mrs. Claus. Santa's going to come down and will make me Mrs. Claus. Like, this is literally a Disney princess rescue escape fantasy that has been indoctrinated into a lot of people's consciousnesses. That is not correct. And I've met many people who are sometimes ayahuasca drinkers who got these ideas from the lower astral, that they think that they are a woman who is called the Bride of Christ. And that is not healthy. Bride of Christ is an allegory. It is a loose allegory. It is not effective language. And when you actually parse the language of what the Christian community is talking about, the church is the bride of Christ. So you must not think of yourself as one individual who is the special lady that Mr. Jesus Christ is going to come down in his bearded sky guide, raiment and marry you. Marriage. Wait. Where's my... marriage. And here's my giant diamond ring. Like, I'm marrying Jesus. Here's my ring, everyone. Like, seriously, make fun of it because it is ridiculous. So we are all the sun. We are all individual rays of the sun. We all have this divine counterpart. None of this is cheating. You're not, it's not like, well, wait. Okay. So now imagine, I'm very silly, circular, row of folding metal chairs, and all of these girls are sitting around, and the sign says support group for Brides of Christ. And they're all there, and they're like, but I thought I was the bride of Jesus. And the other girl's like, I thought I was the bride of Jesus. And they've got like Maury Povich with like Jesus paternity test. All right. Like, we're here today, folks, in order to find out who is the real bride of Jesus. And then we've got all these women with like their little babies. And it's like, he told me that he was the one, that I was the one. Okay, good. So, okay. Aurora's comedy hour over, but thank you for letting me do that. But no, really. A lot of people are egotistical, indoctrinated, and very erroneous in their thinking. There's not only one person who will marry the Son of God. All of us are meant to marry, or unite with is a better word, to unite with, in consciousness connection, the Son of God, which is the sun in the sky, which is the world of pure light. And your individual connection to the sun and the stars does not negate someone else's individual connection either. So if I have a beautiful relationship with the sun and the world of pure light, it doesn't mean I'm the one. Get away from my man, you harpy, you hoe. No. And I hope that you appreciate my humor. I celebrate that each one of you also are connecting to the sun or learning to connect with the sun, that each one of you is developing a beautiful relationship with yourself as the sun, your coherent family of light, and your ability to create the world. And the final thing that I will end on is God and the sun and that spark plug moment when there is a zap. God has a filter and rejects bad ideas all the time. So let's say that there are evil people in this world. There are. And let's say that they do either sun gazing or love making between partners. That's like, gross humping. And they are thinking of catastrophes. What if their sun gazing or their requests and envisionment about the world are their ideations about the future are self-destructive? What if they are thinking about the worst, like the end of the world, nuclear war, catastrophe, zombie apocalypse? God and the sun listen to those requests. Like if somebody tries to slam dunk that into the sun, and it's like, says, that's a terrible idea. I am not going to do that. All right. It has the capacity to reject or veto ideas. Just like if I said to my boss, like, you know what you should do? Take those shelves and shove them straight up your butt. He would be like, I don't think I will do that. I'm rejecting your proposal. So the sun and the world of pure light and divine consciousness has a very effective inner filter and does not simply manifest everything that is put in the cosmic request department. In fact, God, the divine consciousness, is incredibly selective about what is manifested, what is created, and the timing of how it is created. And that's also why, I teach about the Merkaba, that you're creating, blending of your own impulses and desires as an individual in the context of the larger ecosystem or environment of time. And you can't expect to have your own individual egotistical desires fulfilled 100% because sometimes they're in conflict with what is best for the overall system. So very similar things are happening with your solar connection and sun gazing. Sun gazing feeds your light body. And instead of thinking of it as something that fulfills your selfish desires, think of it as something that optimizes your timelines, makes you healthy, and brings you into ideal realities, as we want the entire fabric of time to be healthy. So when the sun or divine presence ejects wrong thoughts, it's because those thoughts would make the entire fabric of reality malformed or sick or diseased. And the sun is like, no, I'm not going to create some kind of planetary catastrophe. That's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. No, I'm not going to make that happen with you, but I will make something different happen with you. And then you can ask all sorts of questions. We're like, what about what happened on Tiamat? And that's now the asteroid belt. Why didn't the sun change or fix that? And we can go, there's so many unhealthy thought patterns that you can go into with kind of like, well, why didn't this happen? And why didn't that happen? And how about this and that and everything? And so the most balanced thing I can possibly say to you is the world is a work in progress, but I can also say there's a lot of things that have been extremely imbalanced and you have to get the whole story in order to find out what's really going on. So we have to take it on a case-by-case basis as I start to answer those questions, which are valid questions for you about like, how can any catastrophe ever have happened? Why did the sun not step in? How much is the sun responsible for? How much are you responsible for? How about in your own life? How much are you responsible for your hands on the steering wheel and what you do, where you go? How much is Jesus responsible? So all of these things are important there. So I'm wrapping up, kind of take Tiki out, but also ancient Egypt. In ancient pre-Pharaonic Egypt, the truth of the world was really evident, and people didn't just worship the sun, but they knew the truth of all of this. The sun is alive. The sun lives through us. The sun benevolently looks over us as its creation and also benevolently inhabits, embodies, and lives through us as its creation. Eventually, in ancient Egypt, they became, twisted and mutilated, and their belief system became polytheistic, and there were all of these subsets of God and all of these weird representations of God, and then all of these weird ways of worshiping and, giving sacrament and sacrifices to God and all of these different things. It got very confused. And then the whole idea with Amarna was a place that was a community of reformation where Nefertiti and her husband were there to be able to try to bring everybody back to monotheistic solar worship. And so just know that there has been a long history in various human cultures of first knowing the truth of and respecting the truth of the origins of consciousness and how profoundly important solar consciousness and solar connection is, and then getting confused and devolving and worshiping like, I worship the god of the lip gloss. Well, I worship the god of the remote control, and I worship the this and I worship the that, and they're getting totally confused and turned around. And then the attempts to reconnect to the true sun. And all of this, it's bizarre because once again, it was created as a fail-safe, perfect system where it's like, you can't miss it. It's up there in the effing sky. You can't miss it. It's right there, but still sometimes people get confused. And right now you are also in a time of profound confusion. And the satellites from Mr. Elon Musk do not help at all. So Michael says, thank you, Master Aurora. Love to all. Thank you very much. Thank you for being in our class. And Suzuka says, thank you, Aurora. You're very, very welcome. Lisa says, thank you. You're all very welcome. Thank you to the students who are in this class. Thank you to everybody who is here during the actual lecture. Thank you for your questions and your comments. Thank you so much to the lovely student who emailed me with the questions about Atlas and Soho. And always, if you can't be in class or if you just prefer to ask questions via email me so that way I can be responsive. And thank you for listening. And also, I hope I can give a little bit of an energetic weather report. I'm actually feeling some very good windows of clarity and moments of opportunity. Today was a very, very good day for Flying Rainbow Lasagnaing. There were some very, very clear windows. And so Flying Rainbow Lasagna is one of the ways to reach beyond the clouds and connect to the sun. Windows for Flying Rainbow Lasagna means you can jump past the satellites, jump past the Bluetooth, jump past the inhibitors that are trying to prevent you from connecting with the sun. and actually connect with the sun. When you can connect with the sun, it's like getting paid. Ka-ching. You can do almost anything when you get paid. Anything that is available in stores. Like when you have money, you can buy building materials, hire people, travel, go places, do stuff. When you can connect with the sun, you can get building materials, travel interdimensionally, get ideas for how to solve problems, fix things. So when Tom says that he approaches things as a solvable problem, I agree. And a lot of the time, the answers or the solutions come, or the energy to solve something comes from doing sun gazing and getting that energy. And then you've got the inspiration. And what seemed like an insurmountable mountain then becomes very approachable and manageable. And then instead of life being like, grim death march, it becomes a fun adventure. And that is what our lives in Atlantis are. Life is a fun adventure because instead of like peril and torture and torment, you're like, oh yeah, like no, we're all going to be constantly sun gazing and dancing with the sun and creating optimum realities. So let's end on that as a beautiful solution. Okay, good. Pedro says, love the lasagna. Thank you so much, Pedro. Love back to you. And thank you to everybody who's a student of this class, but who catches things in the recording afterwards in the archive. Okay. Thank you. Have a beautiful night, everyone. Thank you very much. Much love to you. Thank you.